And we've got audio perfect. Very well. Let us begin. Shabbat Shalom, my most esteemed friends, honorable judges, LVE tribe, as well as everyone else accompanying us. On this rather precious, radiant, not so hot because this whole week it seemed like it was still winter, autumn, cloudy, precious week. It's not too hot for now. From California, the US of A, today being Shabbat, Ishar the 13th, which is the second month. Remember that tomorrow, if I forget, I'll say it now. Tomorrow is the 14th day of Ishar, which is the second Pesach. In case someone forgot, wasn't able to, couldn't care less, and would like to do what Pesach is, they can do it tomorrow, which is the washing of the feet, and to eat a little bit of matzah, a little bit of wine, and then later celebrate with leavened bread. That is our way that you can do so. Tomorrow is the appropriate day to do so of the year 5995 from creation. Today being May the 30th of the year 2026, in which we shall study yet another chapter of Wisdom and Discipline, part 69, precisely the year in which both Leslie and I were born, the year 1969, a number that I love. We're in the countdown of the Omer. This is week number 4, which is on its way out, day number 28. Tomorrow will be our week number 5, day 29. This is week number 4, day 28. And we decided this week to not eat gnocchis on the 28th, which is May 28th, which was 2 days ago. It was Thursday. We decided not to because we got the idea here amongst all of us of eating, why don't we eat gnocchis this Shabbat, so then today we'll eat gnocchis. And as it turns out, it's the 28th day in the countdown of the Omer. We jumped over from the regular week, the 28th day, gnocchis day. It had to go with the Gregorian day, of course, but today we'll eat gnocchis because we're eating gnocchis amongst friends. It's great. Every time we're close, sometimes we have forgotten of eating gnocchis on a Shabbat and we eat something else, but if we remember the whole group of eating gnocchis, we always eat on the 28th or close to a day prior, the year afterwards. We'll eat the gnocchis within friends. So then gnocchis today with salsa, which is the most preferred today, with green sauce, with pesto, which basil, some sort of nut that you can eat in other ways. We like our most favorite is with tuco, which is the tomato sauce. So then today we'll eat gnocchis with tuco. So then today is the day of gnocchis. I'm going to go ahead and send a greeting to those who have had a birthday during this week, the week that is ending, which are as follows. Jaylene Rojas Lora, the Dominican Republic. Isaías Ogando, the Dominican Republic. Stephanie Santana, the Dominican Republic. Mayeli Molina Lopez, Guatemala. Gloria Noemi Casillas Aceves, Mexico. Erwin Neira, Chile. Daniel Hernandez Marin, Mexico. Rosiane David, Brazil. Carolina Rojas, Venezuela. Yuctimar Rojas, Venezuela. Ros Castro, Chile. Fernando Antonio Gutierrez Columna, the Dominican Republic. Justine, Nicaragua. Eliani Ogando, the Dominican Republic. To each and every one of you, a great big hug on behalf of the eternal truth of all of us. Many congratulations and also many blessings. And we wish you to not have way too many more birthdays. May it be some of the last ones under this system of Babylon. Farewell. Short. Well, we're going to talk about soccer today, but my congratulations to Belgrano that defeated River in a final that was completely extraordinary. It was 4 minutes left and River was winning 2-1, and they felt like the champion already. 2 more goals of Belgrano came in a penalty, which was a penalty because the defender of Belgrano separates the hand, very much argued by them, but it was clearly a penalty. Then a spectacular goal that came afterwards, and Belgrano won 3-2, and they're the champion of the Argentinian soccer of the opening Argentinian league. So then congratulations, Belgrano, you did it once again. You sent River to the B, and now you sent River home sad for not being the champion. Congratulations to the whole entire team of Belgrano, to the whole team of Zielinski. Spectacular what we have lived. But the joy has lasted short because, like everything in this world, lasts too short. Boca played on Thursday and they played a horrible game. I mean, it's to be forgotten. Completely such a shame. It's been one of the worst games I've ever seen with a team that is not so bad. Not so bad. But Boca should have surpassed it clearly. Clearly, we were worse than they were. They scored a spectacular goal. If you watch the game, it was a counter-attack play. Boca is attacking Paredes, who actually played bad. He was injured, or at least that's what he says. Some say that he acted injured to avoid any type of injuries, because that is what the Argentinian coach asked him to go to the World Cup. That is what they say with the gossip. I'm not sure if it was really that like he acted or he really did feel like that. That's why he'll play the way he did. But in one of the ones that he passed on to the attack, Paredes threw a center, which was bad, just like all his other centers. Generally, Boca did everything wrong, and it was rejected by the team of the Catholic University, and it was a very good counterattack outside of the area. And some guy defined that struck on it, but it would seem like he was the best player in the world because he struck on it, it curved, and it got into the post and entered a goal. And then Boca couldn't do anything else. We have some Gallina Jimenez. He was from River. He's a chicken. He used to watch chicken. He had the River jersey. That's why we know he's from River, but he plays in Boca. Well, he always was. He's not a very virtuous forward, but he's been playing horrible. He doesn't even know how to stop the ball. He doesn't have the speed. He doesn't know how to hit the ball with the head. I mean, anything. I mean, so it's whatever. And it was 100 minutes. They lengthened the game a lot, more than 100 minutes, and actually it was shameful. Boca was shameful. It was disaster, complete disaster. To be completely forgotten ever since I remember. We had never been out in the first phase, in the phase of the Copa Libertadores, in the first group, I think in 1994, 32 years ago. In 94 we had been left out. It was such a shame, I mean astronomically level. So then the joy because of Belgrano lasted short. The reality came for Boca, and actually we are out of the Copa Libertadores since we're third of the group. They brought us down to the South American Cup. We were laughing about the River one. Now we're going to be playing the South American Cup with them. To top it off, we have to play a game with a second of a group, which is O'Higgins from Chile, another Chilean team, O'Higgins. And that game, we have to win it to continue to advance in the South American Cup, or else we'll be eliminated from there also. I don't even care about the South American Cup, tell the truth. All is for us to, the only thing I would like is for us to face River and to beat them, but oh well. Sad. So here is the Libertadores Cup, which won't be ours this year. I had little hope, almost none, because I told you we have 6. The 7th one will indicate in the form of interpreting the things that we have. Don't take this literal. But in the most fun way that we have of interpreting this life, since we're of Boca, and Yahweh owes us to invest us, He must invest us. A symbol for us is Boca, and we need the 7th one. Number 7 means perfection and plenitude, wholeness, fullness. That's what the week has 7. The week has 7. Everything has 7. A 7 is a number that implies in the biblical language, and what God gave us, so that we understand how the Bible is understood. It's a number that's very special. Number 7 is. It means fullness and perfection, which something is complete. That's why the week in the Shabbat, which is the 7th day, or the year 7,000 of the millennium, is where it is completed. The creation is where it is ends. And the number 8, it means a new beginning. The 8th is the new beginning. That's why also there's the 8th, which is one of the 7, is a new beginning. Last one for Babylon, but the number 8 in the Bible represents a new beginning. The 7th one is the conclusion of perfection. So then the 7th one won't be this year. So then we'll take this cup from out of here. It won't be this year. Unfortunately, we're going to leave you there so you can see it. So you can see it, but it's not for us. Maybe you don't like what I tell you, but I relate everything with everything, because everything is related with everything, and even more what we live through, because actually we believe that the Bible is true and the prophecies will be fulfilled. So then if this group is a fan of a club, let's say, that is pagan with those words, so like Boca Juniors, well, it's got something to do with this. For me, everything is related with everything, and Boca Juniors was not able to defeat the Catholic University. The Catholic University, what does that mean? Another dumb thing that I'll say, but well, it's university is only one verse, which is only one lie. The word says it all right there. I'm not making anything up. University means from verse, from speaking, from message. That is unique. That's why the universities, it's a place where they indoctrinate those who go there, and to top it off the title, to get integrated into Babylon and for Babylon to work. It's a Babylonian programming. Of course, you can go to university to learn whatever you want and to do with your life contrary to that. The idea behind Babylon, of the university, it's a center of training in every aspect, so that they serve the system of Babylon, which is obvious, and with only one system, only one verse. So then we played with the Catholic University. What does that mean, Catholic? Universal. The Catholic word means universal. That's why the Catholic Church, they call it the Universal Church, because Catholic, the word Catholic means universal. So then I read, the only verse, or the only deceit, is worldwide. The only worldwide deceit, Catholic, beat us. So then it means that they took our possibility out of winning the 7th cup. It's a clear message that I've told you. It's not the moment of winning the cup. When will it be? I believe we're going to win it, the 7th one, by giving a clear sign that actually it is the appropriate moment for receiving our reward. Our reward, like a mini sign. I was sure that if it wasn't the Catholic University, it would be the next one, but a champion. I always desire for them to be a champion. I always desire for Yahweh to be this year that ends everything and gives us the kingdom, but it won't be so. There is a calendar, so then it could be next year. If it's 2028, whether it'll be, or next year, who knows when. Whenever it'll be, I see it personally as a sign. If it isn't so, then it doesn't matter. We have fun either way. But the verse, the universal verse, said, it's not your moment, out of here. And that's what it is. I'll take that message of Yahweh. It says it's not your moment yet for you. Continue to test, continue to study, and continue to practice. It's not the moment for you. So then, it made me get upset at the moment, but I was already expecting it, because precisely I always see the hand of Yahweh in everything, and I was expecting it. It was a game that Boca could win easily, crushing them. It didn't turn out. It is because it's so close, or at least it's not this year or the next year, what Yahweh will do with us. We'll have to continue to wait. Waiting and waiting. Very well. Shema Israel. I grabbed the cat. and he left me with all kinds of white hair. Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Ekhad. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our God, Yahweh one is. Good thing he was one, because if it was two like that one, it's only one. And with that, it's enough. I forgot to present you Madeline, aside from the pails she sent. She also sent us some brushes. They're not the common ones for hair, to use it twice a day, and they're copper. So copper has properties for the hair, and many different properties like anti-dandruff and things like that. The electric connection of the cells is reactivated, things like that, which is interesting. I had never had one. I forgot to show you. It's a comb. It is covered, every part of it. It's with copper, and when you smell copper, and it's like it leaves a little bit of copper, and it causes for something. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but it's great. Many thanks, Madeline. I forgot to present this. Sent 4 of them, 1 for each, and it came along with the pills. I had forgotten. I'm still taking the vitamins. We'll see if they have any effect in the hair. We'll see. Very well. John 8:31 through 32, then Yeshua said unto the Jews that had believed on him, If ye remain in my word, then you shall be my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The truth makes us free, and precisely there is the university and the liberty. The university is the system of Babylon. The liberty is what we teach, even about God. We are free. This is not a church that has its rules. As it turns out, this week, along with Leslie, we watched the movie. I can't remember which one. I'm not recommending anything. But this had a phrase that I liked, called my attention. It says, how much would you sacrifice to obtain your dreams? It says every person, in order to obtain their dreams, you have to sacrifice something. And sometimes what you have to sacrifice is what you most like or love. And I stopped to think about that phrase, and it's got its meaning, that it's applied because all the religions of the world require a sacrifice of their followers. If you're Christian, they require, first of all, for you to accept the sacrifice that Jesus made for you. You have to accept it. It's a sacrifice done for you. A blood sacrifice, a dead sacrifice, life sacrifice, a resurrection. It's a sacrifice. He sacrificed himself. You have to accept that God sacrificed the most precious thing he had, which was his son, for you. And then you have to sacrifice a whole bunch of things. In the altar, you have to sacrifice your ego, things that you like, and sacrifice things, which every church is different, because I come from an Adventist church. It's very strict. There are other churches, you have to sacrifice a whole bunch of things. For example, in the Adventist church, you have to sacrifice that you can't do anything on Saturdays, but go to church. You have to sacrifice a whole bunch of food, alcohol, tobacco, coffee, and you have to sacrifice a whole bunch of activities that is bad for the church. Depending on the church, whatever version you have in Christianity, you have to sacrifice something, because it's a sacrifice you do to obtain what you most want, which is the salvation. And many times I've seen in the Adventist church where I went that the people had to sacrifice their matrimony, to sacrifice their couple, because their couple was a sinner that did not accept God. And so they had to get divorced or get separated. It was a sacrifice. Everything requires a sacrifice. In the Jewish religion, it requires a sacrifice that you have to follow 613 commandments in the best way possible. You have to sacrifice everything that you love or like. If it goes against those commandments, many other things in every church, I mean, don't even mention the Muslims, it's all a sacrifice. Sacrifice to obtain what you most desire. How much are you willing to sacrifice? And I started to evaluate the eternal truth. And I noticed that we don't ask any sacrifice of you, of anything. We're a religion that is absolutely free. We don't ask for you to sacrifice in anything. We give you information so that you see with your eyes what reality is. Right, of course, if you see that it's a sacrifice to leave your church, it's not a sacrifice because you understand that that church is a lie. You want to continue to go to that church, that's fine. You can do whatever you want, but you're worshiping a false god. That's not a sacrifice. We open your eyes so that you see. But you don't have to do things in order to be of the eternal truth or for the eternal truth. It's not a sacrifice. We don't ask, you have to do that or you're out of here. And if you don't do that either, you're out. And not for us. Not for us. The eternal truth, as the song that I always read, it's a suck of the eternal truth. She will always be in your heart. No one can take her away from you. And we do not demand any type of sacrifice. It really called my attention. Really called my attention. I no longer believe in sacrifices. Religious sacrifices. I'm sick and tired of them. The burnt offerings. And don't even mention the animal sacrifice. I mean, don't even mention that what the Jewish religion is. Aside from what I said, the whole entire system of sacrifice, if they had the temple now, they would implement it immediately. It's a system, religion of sacrifices of blood. The Christians, the same thing, because they accept all those sacrifices that have been done, because they were the shadow of the great sacrifice of the Son of God that was to come. So then it's religions that are based, their salvation is based on a sacrifice. Someone has to die in order for you to be saved, whether it's an animal, the Son of God. But it's not by death, like the book of Hebrews. Without blood, there is no remission of sins. Without a sacrifice, there's no salvation. And we don't believe in that. We believe without the truth, there's no salvation. Lies cannot bring salvation. The only thing that makes you free is the truth. And the truth you don't need to do a sacrifice for anything. It is to understand, to open your eyes, to comprehend. Proverbs 25:2, but this whole entire chaos in the religion, sacrifice and all the rest, it is because God hid his message in the Bible. It is the glory of Elohim to conceal the word. How is the word? It is concealed. That's why no one understands a thing. Yet the glory of the king is to search out the word. The king means the Messiah. The king is the Messiah. And Messiah is not based on sacrifices, but based on searching out, understanding, learning. That is what the Messiah is based upon. That's why many people leave. I know that if we were a different type of religion, strict, we have to do this and that, or you get lost, and the fear is the motive of the people of following a religion, and aside from that, the sacrifice. I don't know why, but the people love the sacrifice. It's like a relationship that's sadistic. They love the sacrifice. When they see it too easy, they say, "No, this is not true. We require something stronger." They have to present to me that I have to decide between eternal death, suffer eternally, or something, a reward that is eternal, that's salvation. When I tell you that the truth makes you free, they say, no, somebody has to die. Someone has to die here. Blood is needed. Blood is required. The reality is that no. But all will say, Jeremiah 16:19 through 21, Yahweh, my strength and my fortress, my refuge in the day of tribulation. Unto thee shall come the peoples from the ends of the earth, and shall say, only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. And there it is. That whole cover is a lie. Only lies has been the inheritance of our fathers, vanity to which there is no avail. If it is man that makes himself gods, then they are not gods. That's why, behold, I shall make it be known unto you. This time I shall show you the strength of mine arm, and you shall know that my name is Yahweh. As it turns out, we were chatting along with Leslie about the things, about the scriptures and all the rest. And we've noticed that the true God, the new true God, actually, the people have to declare it. I've always said that, and I'll highlight it now even more directly. The true God, the new true God that will come, won't be based on him saying, I'm the new God, I want you to worship me. No, it doesn't work that way. That is the old religion. I am God, there's no one like me, you shall not have any other gods aside from me, I am a jealous God, you will love me, I want you to love me. Shemah Israel, YHWH Eloheinu, YHWH Ekhad. You shall love me with all your heart, with all your soul and mind. I am God that will persecute those who hate me unto the third and fourth generation, but I make great mercies unto 1,000 generations of those who love me. That is a God that we no longer want. I'm not going to say false because he's the God creator. We no longer want that type of God. We don't want a God that self-proclaims as God, the God that rules the earth. The people themselves are going to declare him as God because they're going to notice by the works that they will do, this group of people. What am I referring to with this? That what we've studied in Isaiah that says, the people, this is our God. Him we have awaited for, and he shall save us. In a counter position that they also say, our gods are all false. Now, we have noticed that they're all false. They are dead, and they're never going to resurrect or be our old gods. But this is our God. Why do they say that? Because not by obligation, not by commandment, not because the new God is saying, look, I'm the new God of you. No, it is because an exclamation of gratefulness for what that new entity is giving them. Only for that can that be a true God. That based on what God does, the people to recognize him as God. No, and when I say God, it means authority, not by obligation, not because of self-declaration, but because of the works. When the new God of the earth arises and he starts to do works, and the works are good, then the people will want to have an authority upon them that is that, not by obligation, saying I'm their new God, I'm the owner of everything. No, it doesn't work that way. It'll never work that way, and we don't want something ever again that way. In fact, the people have the right of saying, we don't want you as a God. And I find that to be excellent, because that group of people, they're not going to benefit from the things that God will give. For example, that's just an example. If there's a group of people that say, not that we no longer want you, because when they accept this group of people as God, when they accept him, then they're never going to want it to be a different God that replaces him, because they're going to feel absolutely satisfied. Because as it was said by the God creator, in the skin of the Messiah, he said, I will give you life and life in abundance. When the people receive something that they've never received before, life in abundance, they're not going to have doubts in their lives, in their minds, that they're going to receive something else, because what they're receiving is life. The life is so important for us, for human beings. It's so important that I can assure you that if Bill Gates, if an entity would come with power and say, look, Bill, you have little years to live. I can give you 70 years of life. I can make you 20 years old with all your mind, everything that you have in your mind. I can make you the body in all of your life to renew it to 20 years old. But I need you to sign that all of Microsoft and the other companies that you have are at my name. Sign him over. What do you think that Bill Gates would do? What do you think he would do? He would give him everything, even his underwear, everything. They tell George Soros, all of your fortune that you have, you're about to die, you're like 90 or 100 years old. I'll make you look 20, but you give me all of your fortune. He wouldn't have the least doubt. He would say, where do I sign? I'll give you everything, everything. If you give me the proof that you have power to rejuvenate him, right? The people would give everything for life. No matter all of the gold that you have, doesn't matter. If there's a group of people that says, we don't want you as God, what is God going to say? Do I destroy these sons of bitches? No, not at all. That's perfect. It is your decision. You can live in this part of the earth, but you're also going to have the same problems that you've always had. I'm not going to curse you, but the problems that you've always had, you'll have ailments, lethal ones, and grow old and die because they can't do anything for you. Because you don't want this. I find that to be perfect, absolutely. Now, you're all welcome to live in this kingdom. The day that you want to change, come, and we'll accept you. What do you think will happen with those people? They can live for a time, they can live years, until something happens, either accidents or sicknesses, or about to die, or old age. And they'll say, no, what am I doing here? Tell the truth. I look at the rest and it's something else. There's life, there's life. You know, how am I going to be saying that, of course it's that group of people that it's a true God, because they give you life. They don't come to rule your life and fill you with laws in a system of worship that's stupid based on sacrifices. No, no. It'll be born of them saying, no, yes, now I do want to belong to you. I want to live in your kingdom. The new God will be a new God by choosing of the people, aside from the fact that God gives them power of being God. But even though he gives them the power of being God, he won't act like God the Creator. He will act like, what do you want? You want to live like you've always lived? Or do you want to have life, and life in abundance? And with that, it's a whole bunch of things, too. So it doesn't matter how long it takes, because what God has, the new God is time. What he has is time. He's not even in a hurry of saying, you already have to decide, or else I'll liquidate all of you. No, no, no. It's not in his heart. He wants for everyone to live. But he also wants for everyone to learn why to choose him as a God. Like, why? Why is the reason to choose him as a God? Because it's written in a book? Or because he does marvelous things? I ask you, or ask yourself, why did I choose the God that since a child I worshipped? First answer is because my parents indoctrinated me. Second, after I learned to read the Bible, maybe I decided to change the religion, but always based in the Bible. To lessons of the past, readings of the past, supposedly great men and supposedly good works of men, good and bad ones. Good ones because he would bless those they would love, quote unquote. And bad ones because he would destroy entirely a whole world with the great flood, or also destroy cities individually. So then we start to worship God out of fear, not because of our own experience. God never spoke to us. God didn't come. We never seen the difference of why we should worship God, and all our lives started to shine and to obtain life. No, there could be little changes because we were saying, yeah, I was a drunk and I got into the church and stopped drinking. Well, how many people stop drinking without a church? That's why you have the Alcoholics Anonymous, or just your own will. It's not God. So then, don't thank a church or something and thank it for it directly to God. God didn't do anything for you. I want you to understand, nor anything for the people. The people live and die. They suffer and die. So then we don't love God because God did something so great in our life. No, if there's something great in your life, you did it. You did it. You changed. You took out certain habits that weren't good for you, but you changed it. It wasn't of God. When they say God made a miracle in me, that's a lie. An absolute lie. He doesn't change. He doesn't cure you of your ailments, but it's because you caused the conflicts to change everything that the people thank God. They forget to blame him what they didn't like. the death of family members, all types of evil. Those don't blame God. I'm talking about the Christians. They don't blame God. That is the work of Satan. But everything good that happens, oh, thank God. Thank God I have life. Thank God I have this job. Thank God I have this. Thank God He gave me the children. It's all thanks to God. But what's good and what's bad, even if you pray for you to be healed or to heal someone else and they die, they end up saying, oh, it's because God knows what is best. God knows best. God works in mysterious ways. He does everything for you. And you cope with that. And that's not the way it is. In the future world, the people will see the works of God, not because they read them, but because they experience them actually. If God were to tell you and will tell you, I'm going to give you life, they will feel the life. It's not something good that happens in life to you, but rather you're going to feel the change in life. Like, for example, the person that had the dry hand felt, and Yahweh came in the skin of the Messiah and fixed their hand, like that person that had been bleeding for 12 years, and Yahweh cut off the bleeding right there, just like that person that was dead and resurrected. That is what the people will experience in their life. They will no longer grow old and will start to get younger. We're talking about a person of my age or 90 years old, and they want to look like a young person of 30 years old. And God can do that for you, and you start to experience it in your life. The Bible makes no sense because of the prophets, because God promised. No, you experience it. Something that we have never experienced. All the positive things that happened to us, we gave God thanks for it, but God didn't do anything because you died, just like all died. All died. So then, the people, sooner or later, will see the works of God and will say, this really is our God. This is what we are waiting for. This has salvation. The other gods that we worshipped, they're dead for us. We buried them. From here on out, this is our God forever. That's what I'm telling you. God, the new God, will not self-proclaim as, I'm the new God. No. The people will self-proclaim it as, you are God. Like a soccer player says. A soccer player that's never played, he said, I'm the best. People say, who are you? If you say that and they never saw you play. Now if you go humbly and you start to do marvel things, you score incredible plays, people will make you a God immediately. They'll make songs for you, salutations unto your name, all kinds of things. Why? Because you earned it. Because you earned it. Now, what did God earn? The Creator. He earned for all of us to despise Him. That is what He earned. But the people don't see that. The people can't see that. Because He reduced our life, took our life. He gave us a dog shit life in the top off. He goes in and He places and takes away kings and the kings of Babylon. He placed them. And all of the deceit of the universities and the churches, He placed them. And the NASA was placed by Him. The lie of a globe earth, it was invented by Him. Modern white robe priesthood was invented by Him. When the people understand that everything was invented by Him and all the evil that came into the world is because of Him, and if it weren't because of Him, there wouldn't be any evil, then the people will say, I can't believe it. And my whole life I've been thanking Him all the stupid things, and He was, that guy's dead for me. He no longer exists. That is what Isaiah says, what we've studied already. And it's interesting, a God has to earn the right for Him to be called a God. For that very reason, the people cry for an Elohim of justice. Malachi 2:17, the Creator says, Ye have wearied Yahweh with your words, and you say, what have we wearied Him? And that you say that whomever doth evil pleaseth Yahweh. That's true. And in such He delighted. That's true. Or else, where is the Elohim of justice? Where is he? Because that evidently, when you open your eyes, that's not the Elohim of justice. It's evident. It's evident. It is the Elohim of injustice. Because of the injustice of the world, he directs it, he places it, he invents it, and applies it. It is so clear. So then, where is the Elohim of justice? Where is there an Elohim of justice? It is the new God. Then people will say, wow, this really is justice. This really is justice. And the people will say, this guy really is our God. This is what we were waiting for. Here is the salvation. Invitational text. Proverbs 8:22 through 23. Yahweh possessed me in the beginning, from times of old before his works. Eternally I had the rule from the beginning before the earth. This is magnificent. It is magnificent because I've already explained it. And today we'll finish the book of Proverbs 8, the chapter of the book of Proverbs 8, chapter 8. But I'd like to go into this a bit. It doesn't mean that the Messiah had a conscience at the beginning of the Christian. No. It means that everything that the God Creator did and everything we see of him, and like the way he presented himself into the earth and when he started to create in this whole time of duration of 6,000 years, and that we're going to enter into a completely new time, which is the 7th millennium, which he calls the Shabbat, a period in which Yahweh already goes into rest already. He leaves his creation in the hands of another God forever. All that, he had it in mind before creating the dust of the world. So then, all that he had for and by what he calls wisdom. It was all made for wisdom. It was all made based on her. When we understand who wisdom is, we can understand the motive of creation. The motive of creation is not creation in itself, but rather it is the Messiah. In order for the Messiah to enjoy it, it is kind of like in an example that is just very raw. That just came up to mind. A couple gets married, and they plan to have a child. In the human measure that we don't know, we're not the God Creator that is planning, but they, comparatively, they say we want to have a child. If it's a male, we're going to call him, I don't know, John. And if it's a girl, it'll be Joanna. Just a raw example. And so then the dad says, no, I think I'm going to have a boy, and maybe they find out that he's going to have a boy. No, before. The dad starts to plan. The dad and the mom start to plan that even before, they start to plan for that male son, for their baby, boy or girl. It'll be, they're going to make a room, a special one for them, for what they see. And they don't make it not pink or blue, but they make it more neutral. But they start to fabricate it based on what they think that they're going to have, that they still didn't even have. They start to make it. That is what happened. That is what this story tells us. That before starting the creation of the world, the motive to make the creation of the world was wisdom. That's why it says, Yahweh possessed me in the beginning. To possess is that he had it in his mind, the first thing that came to mind. Already of old, before his works. So then, all his works that God made, he made him for wisdom. Yahweh possessed me in the beginning, from time of old, before his works. I eternally had the rule, from the very beginning till eternity. Everything that he was going to make here on earth was for wisdom. From the beginning, before the earth, the idea of the Messiah was what originated the creation, because there can't be a Messiah or God of a kingdom that does not exist. So then God said, I'm going to recreate, I'm going to make unto myself, I'm going to, when he says he created men in his own image and likeness, we can take that story, and what he's creating is the Messiah, like I've told you. We can understand this point of view that God said, I'm going to make a being equal to me, powerful as I am. And we haven't seen yet, as powerful as I am, and give him the world to rule over. But before having it, I'm going to make the whole world, all his whole room for play where he's going to be, and then afterwards I'll bring him to existence. But the existence of the being already existed before doing all things, because it's the motive of doing all the things for him. It doesn't mean that the Messiah existed, actually. No, he existed in the idea. So then everything that God made for 6,000 years is for the Messiah. That's why I like this chapter so much. A chapter that I'm not sure if it's been comprehended so deeply. That a Messiah doesn't come to save the world. No. The world was made for the Messiah. Everything that has happened here has been for the Messiah. All the lies that God has made, the deceits that God has placed in the world, it was in order for the Messiah to show off by showing the truth. Because if he made a universe of truth, or this earth of all truth, and it was all true, he doesn't need a Messiah then. In fact, the people will say, why are you coming anyway? We understand everything, we know everything. What kind of light are you going to give us? What kind of light? So then all the things, God made him twisted on purpose, not because he's evil, but because it's the design. And of course, from that point of view, we see it as so evil, but it isn't so. That's not the subject. The thing is that he made everything twisted, everything that's going to die. The religion's one more twisted than the next, in order for his son, the Messiah, to shine by making everything straight. Because you have to make everything straight. Everything. That's why the people say only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. And don't make a mistake when it says only lies, it means everything a lie. I saw some of your comments that I can remember who said, our fathers told us some lies. No, don't even write that. We have received only lies. No, some small truths and all the rest lies. The people say only lies was the inheritance of our fathers. There's no truth. And when we talk about that, we're talking about religions. Because later it says, if it is the man that makes himself gods and they're not gods, it's not saying that your mom says, careful with the hot milk, it burns. That's a great truth. The fruits are very good, you have to eat them. My mom told me the truth. No, it's not talking about that. Not talking about those truths. It's talking about the religion. So then, in what is religion, and I'll add science there because it's also a religion, your parents said only lies. There's not one sole truth in them, no truth in them. He's not talking about, and I'll say it again, of the truths that they told you, of your family, of the small things of life, of how to have success and have a good life. That's obvious. What it's talking about is about religion. That's why it clarifies it, and it says, only lies was the inheritance of our fathers, vanity to which there is no avail. If it is men that makes themselves gods, then they're not gods. So then the inherited lies, complete lies, are based on the gods. Based on the worship, the adoration, the religion. All that God made it twisted with the purpose, the only purpose, for the Messiah, to make it straight. Or else he would not show off. Why did he create death? In order for the Messiah to turn back death and give life. The only reason for death to exist is so that the Messiah can give life. If the Messiah can't give life, then why the fuck do the people want a Messiah? What for? Why does he want a new God if they all work either way? And just here I come, no, if it all works. We don't need you. That's an old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Many people want to improve what works and then make it worse. So if it's not broken, don't fix it. If this world were not broken, then it doesn't need anyone to fix it. But God made a broken world. That's why your life is broken. That's why the life of the whole world is broken and dead. In order for the Messiah to come and fix everything, for people to say, wow, this really is a difference. So then he idealized the whole scenery of the worst: deceit, lies, suffering, and death. In order for the Messiah to come and say the truth, more truth, the only truth, that he hands over, instead of suffering, he gives pleasure and the desire to live in life. And so the people are going to say, this is our God. Don't look at God, the Creator, as if he is evil because he's an evil being. He is way past of being good or evil. This whole creation is that way only because Yahweh possessed the Messiah from the beginning, from old, before his works. Eternally, the Messiah had the mission of making straight and giving life unto the world from the very beginning, before the earth. So then Yahweh was going to be and cause a torment, a hell, in order for the Messiah to make a paradise out of this. I have a question, and I'm going to read it. Complex question, more complex than I imagined than when I read it. It reads as follows. You noticed how one sometimes posts a status on your cell phone. I'm not referring to everyone, but rather us. What is your opinion? Is it the same thing? Does it influence for good or evil, whether it's for yourself or for those who see it? Because one could say things that are not for everyone. The status. For example, I'm happy, I'm sad, things like that. Because I'm not referring to everyone, he's not asking for the world, but us. In other words, those of us who are and belong to the eternal truth. What is your opinion, he says, of those statuses in the cell phones, which are in the social media, in the computer? Is it the same thing? It's like it doesn't matter what they post. Does it have any influence for good or evil? Actually, does it influence for good or evil? Whether it's for you or for those who see it, if that influence is for the one who places it or for those who see it? Because one could say things that are not for everyone. Exactly. No. This is a message, it's a question that's very wide. The first thing I'm going to say is that in my point of view, the social media are something marvelous. It's something that's very much criticized by many people, saying we should go back to the times when there was no all that whoring, social whoring, as they say, which is just gossip and this and that and reactions and counter reactions, and that the people post this to see what people react. It's a whole bunch of whoring around in the social medias. Well, my opinion is different. I love communication. There are people that make an opinion that the cell phone came to ruin our lives. Since there was no phones before, it obligated people to go visit people in person. Now with the phone, it's like, hey, you're okay? And that's it. You no longer have contact. Before, you used to go and travel and hug someone. Now, just with a little digital heart, that's it. Happy birthday, a little heart, and that's it. Before, you had to go to the house to hug them, happy birthday, things like that. So then there's people that say that even the cell phones came to ruin our lives. I am completely in disagreement with that, Some people say that even the cars and the planes ruin our lives if we go with that line. Because before, it would take us a long time to travel before, and it used to be good for us. Now we do everything fast. The people are always going to be something against something modern. I am in favor of everything that's modern that we've gotten to. I am in favor of the phones, but of course, And I'm extremely in favor of the social media. Absolutely. Whether I use them a lot or not, I don't use a lot of social media on the phone, but I do speak through social media, which is YouTube. I don't know if YouTube is considered a social media, but it's a type of social media, of course. It's a type of communication. We use Facebook also. We write on Facebook, we take pictures on Facebook, we place the invitation there. Even this video, we publish it in Facebook, we utilize the social media, and for me they are fantastic. Because man can relate with each other a lot more, so then I am in favor with all types of social communication. That's, first of all, I want to make that so clear. Now, there is an effect that takes place also, an effect that I've found many cases, and now I'm talking particularly of what is about us, not the world in the social media, that the people, first of all, like we've talked about it with Leslie, the social media is a means to discover how the person is. Even if they're not saying something, you start to see how the person is. Because there's the saying, the fish dies by the mouth. It is clear. When a person starts to speak, you see how they are. If they are silent, you don't know how they are. When they start to speak, they fall by their mouths. Social media is the same thing. You may not be speaking, but you're writing, which is exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. And there's an effect that we have seen. That many people, if you were to see them in person and you speak in person, they're timid, that don't dare to tell you absolutely anything, not even to give you a thought, because they're kind of like just introvert. They have a personality that we now know that is based on all of their upbringing, their surroundings, all who were his childhood and all the rest, and conflicts and all the rest. They're more shy. They don't even look at your eyes. But behind the screen, their lions, their keyboard lions are on their cell phones, and they can write anything down that they would never dare tell into your face. So then you see things that they say, all kinds of things, any thought that they wouldn't tell you in person. So there's an effect in the social media. It's like it empowers them. It empowers people that wouldn't otherwise do so in person. They take something from within that they wouldn't have in person, or at least you don't see that they have it. And what takes place is something that is a fabulous tool. All the social media is, but we have to learn to be teachers and masters in how to use them. Doesn't matter, the cars are something marvelous. In having or being able to use the cars, they're tools that you couldn't go without, but if you misuse them, you're going to kill yourself or kill others. So then we have to learn to use them in order for them to not make us a slave of that, nor also to make us our life even more embittered. There are people that all of a sudden post, just an example, men are all wicked because she got upset with her husband or their boyfriend or had a bad experience with a man, and says men are all wicked. So then all men go and read right there, all men are evil. And I want you to understand something, because these are rules. When you don't place a message directed to someone specifically, it's as if you found that person and they tell it to your face. Men are all evil. So then I read that. My mind automatically says Christian is evil. Because I automatically take men are wicked, I'm a man, therefore, as it is said in English, I'm the wicked one. So then, I personally, it doesn't please me, these messages and indirect messages that they send out anonymously. I notice that it's people that are despicable, that I would not want to have them close or be friends with them. It's as if you have friends that all of a sudden they come into your house. We're all united and says all men are wicked, and that's it. It's over. They say that statement in reunion. We're not gonna see them well. The fuck? If you had a problem with your macho, don't come and sling your shit here. But I have to eat it. So then the social media, it's something so powerful because it's like it goes person by person that read that, and it's like they're telling it to their face in every moment. It's not that he placed it once and it disappears. You say something and it disappears. You didn't hear it, didn't hear it. But to publish it in your timeline saying all men are wicked, it's a phrase, it could be whatever. All men are wicked. Then I read it 2 days later and I say, I see men are all wicked and I get upset. And then you don't give a like, you're a son of a bitch, for example. If you don't give me a like, then you're a son of a bitch, you don't love me. So then I noticed that and I said, oh no, I'm not going to give them a like because I hate for them to obligate me to do something. So then I'm a son of a bitch and I don't like them. And they can fuck off. But now I have the thought, I'm a son of a bitch, I don't like her, I hate for them to obligate me to do something by force. And if I don't give it a like, it's because I want to continue to be his friend, but I don't want him to think that I'm a son of a bitch, so then I put a like, because I don't want him to think that I'm a son of a bitch. And all the rest I put a like. So then there's a manipulation through the social media that has gotten to be a problem at a level of here in the U.S. at least, that there are people who get addicted. And every day they have to be putting to be their heart so that they can see him. A little heart, or today I'm sad, today I feel bad, today this is going on, today I want this. And they put little faces and other faces and other faces. And they start to absorb the comments. They comment on them. They feed on what people comment. And depending on what they place them, they'll have either a good, they'll feel good that day or not. Despicable people or that they hate, and they come and says, the fuck do I care if you have a bad day? Fuck off, you idiot. They could have a whole bunch of things, or friends that they waited for a heart and they don't give them a heart, and they start to say, you didn't give me the heart. This person, Carlos, didn't give me a heart. What an idiot. Did you see that? Yeah, because here it says seen, because it's up above the media. It says seen by Carlos, and he saw it. He didn't give me a heart. So that he doesn't like me like what he says. He must be an idiot. And so then they start to be such crazy things through certain comments that you read there, and then a whole story is formed. Why? Well, so then what is formed here in the U.S., they say, I don't know anything, they say that there is such a great excitement that it changes, what's the word? Anxiety. They start with anxiety because in the moment in which they publish something, they're waiting. Let's see who gave me a like, who gave me a heart, who gave me a heart. Right, and so then there's a whole state of anxiety on a permanent basis, and they have a life as if it was virtual of that, when there are people that are completely different to what they write, what they post, but they form a figure that is not real. That's the way it is. I remember, I've always told you this case, a girl that I baptized that came from afar. I had seen her in the media, in the social media. She was very skinny, and I thought that I would recognize her because she was skinny, and she was coming to get baptized. She got here on a Shabbat with a group of people that came from afar. I'm not going to say from where. They came from afar, a group of people. When the girl comes off, I see a fat lady. I'm not criticizing the fat people because I'm fat too. She says, I'm so-and-so. I looked at her and said, no, you're not so-and-so. No, you're not so-and-so. You don't look at her at all. Yeah, I'm so-and-so. I said, no, you're 10 times so-and-so. 10 times. Because it was something that was so weird that took place in my brain, saying, how did they deceive me in that way? Incredible, because the social media, with all the tools in AI, They become whiter, more radiant. They become fat, whatever. They make themselves look thinner or fuller. They take off their zits, whatever. They make other faces. They do electronic lifting, whatever they could do. So you look at them and say, "Wow, how beautiful she looks," and you look at her in person and say, "Oh no, it's the same thing as that now." So then, I'm not saying that it's problems because it's all part of this. It's got its technique to work in the social media. We have to be intelligent. I want you to remember something. Every time you write something in the social media, you reveal something of your personality. And you can read it like a paper. You can read it like a paper. If you always say, "I'm sad today, today this and that," you say, "This one has nothing else in her mind than this paper." You judge them immediately. If you don't give me a like, then you don't like me. If this and that, then you read. Instead of being hello, hello, hello to everybody, tell the truth, and I'm not putting rules, I'm not placing rules, because it's not good for you, no, for the person that reads, "Oh, today I'm sad," because no one can give a fuck if you're sad. In the moment of saying, "Today I'm sad," you put yourself even sadder than today because you're affirming something that you said and you make. I know that what is the motive behind that? That everyone worries for you. And for them to write for it, "No, I'll make you happier. What can I do to make you happier?" The dumb examples. You can give me a lot better examples, but I'm just because I don't have so much life in the social media. And aside from 1%, I don't even have a Facebook on my phone. But I'm something which you don't have to measure this because the whole world loves the social media, and I think they're good. I want you to understand that. I think they're excellent. They should not disappear ever. But you have to know how to use them. The more that I like of the social media is that sometimes the people you don't know them, and then you know them through the social media. You know them. You get to know them for what they write, for what they say, for what they demonstrate. I'm not sure if you want to add something, Leslie. There's your mic. You want to add something? There's your mic right there. And then we check if the mic's working. Hello, Shabbat Shalom. Greetings to everyone. I'm so happy for you to be here. We're all gathered together. Yeah, I've seen the pictures of the gnocchis. They look good. Of those who were published at in LVE Official. How beautiful that you shared with us those pictures. Hello, hello. Hello, Milka. Hello, everyone. If I have to share anything, well, you already know that since 2007, right, or 2008, I have a social media, and we would share things. In my experience, not everything that is being presented in the profiles in Facebook and the social medias and other platforms is real. Not everything's real, and not everything's a lie either, right? So then, that is my opinion. You have to know how to manage them, and yes, everyone demonstrates the wisdom they have using them and the maturity that everyone has. You demonstrated also how well balanced you can get to be or how anxious that you can become, because there are some people that also have called me out and saying that I have not given them a like or a heart, and it's not always because I don't want to. Sometimes I haven't even seen them. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes you cannot get upset with other people because they act or don't act according to how everyone expects. And that also demonstrates the personality in every person. When someone demands that you act in a certain way, so then it's a condition for your friendship. And I believe that my friendship is very valuable. It's sincere, it's honest. Not everything that you see in the social media is my personality, of course not. You would have to know me in person to know how I am, because you cannot see entirely what every person is. But in social media, yes, sometimes the people, or many of the people, not all, because I consider myself to be one of not all, they reveal everything in social media. There are things that I'll just keep for me, but yet there are people who need to reveal their intimacy in the social media. And they don't do so in person. So then, actually, it is a whole world that's very, very tricky, very confusing. I don't know how they would say it in Spanish, but it's a world that you could not get to comprehend in all of its truth what happens in every person's head, because every person, for example, you're saying I'm happy, maybe they're not happy that day, but they need to post that I'm happy, and so then, well, that's fine, because everyone is free of using the social media as they need, just like alcohol. I think that everything that we have in this world, we have to continue to have them. We should not prohibit them because there are people that don't know how to use them, or because they hurt. That with social media, you can also hurt a lot. To say things to other people that actually you're hurting their intimacy or their feelings, and you can be very hurtful that way. Well, with alcohol, you can hurt a lot too, but not because of certain people would we have to prohibit them, because then it would be to prohibit them for those that do know how to use them, and I don't think that's okay either. So then my opinion is, in my position, right, that not everything that I read is for me unless it takes my name. If it takes my name, Mrs. Leslie said, okay then, okay. Or this is for you, Leslie. I think you're so-and-so, okay then, that goes for me. But when it's something indirect, or, it's like sending strays, or I don't take it as personal. It's been many years that I have not taken everything, not even a biblical text, do I apply it. Because there are biblical texts that could be manipulated to say many things, or things against us, or things in favor. But I'm not going to take it neither for good or bad. Completely neutral. The people can post whatever they want. I try to be. This is the advice that I can give you. And Christian himself, because I believe that he has the same opinion. We post what we post, our thing. We make our presentation, our invitation. That you think that is virtual, because if it was an invitation of ours that was physical every Shabbat, then you would have a full wardrobe of them. And if we were in person, we could not go to invite them. Right? If it was in person, we could not go. But we publish our thing, and whoever wants to add themselves, right there, they're welcome. And that is what we expect. A beautiful group of friends, harmonious, that actually have an opinion like we do, that can feed on this, that they like the honesty, that want to know the truth, that want to perfect themselves, that want to grow, that they need each other, because it's not that we're cold, we're very, very caring, and that is all we expect. The best for everyone. And well, that is my opinion about the social media. Many thanks for these wise words. What I like the most is that you said that we don't have to take personal what the people say. It is difficult because our brain grasps that. And how many times did I have special messages some time ago, years ago, the people would post of the eternal truth? We must obey men, God before men, and I was like, oh, he's directing it for me, but where I'm saying it would seem that I'm going against to what they think that God says, or goes directly to what says in the Bible, according to their prophet. Whom are they going to publish this for? So then I would take it, it was for me. Actually, we should not take anything personal. Also, not what we post. Let us not expect that everyone puts a little heart or anything of the sort. If we're focused on that, we're not going to enter into the anxiety that it generates. the social medias do. That, according to some studies, says that it generates great anxiety in people, and they have to draw away from it a little bit so that their life is not dictated by the social media. As long as your life is not dictated by it, it's fine. I learned to be, and I started to reform in a new Christian of years ago, that I don't see wrong, or at least I start to work in the aspect that if I see something wrong, I just look over it and I try to reprogram myself. When I see pictures of girls with tighter clothes or showing their attributes of their body, before I used to see it as something that should be criticized. Oh, she's offering herself, she's selling merchandise. Now, having understood the human nature and that actually we are, and we try to obtain the greatest pleasure within this world, which is hell. Tell the truth, I learned to not even for it to go through our mind the criticism. If it goes through it, I stop it because it's normal. When we're accustomed to be in a certain way, I come from a way of being very strict. I come from Ellen G. White, that the women have to use long skirts, they can't show anything, they have to be as discreet as possible. A good thing we don't come from the Muslim one, they have to cover up to here, but the normal one from my house, a mini skirt would be equal to a prostitute. If a girl's showing her legs, is equal to a prostitute, and all she's doing is wants to provoke men to look at her. Right now, tell the truth, we're all human beings. We're all gonna get fixed, because I would not like to look better. I would not have even combed my hair today. So then it's all the same thing to get fixed or a little bit more. Right now, I could care less how the girls post their pictures, and I think it's all fine. I think it's all fine. As long as it's not a porn that even Facebook would condemn it themselves, I think that's fine, and I'm not going to criticize it. I don't have those limitations. Those Christian limitations, I don't have those. And if I do have them, I take them out. That's what I teach you. Let us try to not criticize, because I come from the same school. When you see things that in your mind you see them as wrong, then just like look over them. We're not here to condemn. If we came to condemn, then why do we exist? We should not exist. If we come to condemn, then everybody condemns. Christ condemns, God condemns, Allah condemns, everyone condemns. I'm sick and tired of those who condemn. I'm sick and tired of the sacrifice. So then I no longer want to condemn anyone. I think it's all fine. I think it's all fine. If it bothers me to see it, I'll just look over it. I won't look at it, and I'll learn for it to not bother me. Because if we start to say, this is fine, this is wrong, you're showing your tit too much right there. Or you're wearing too tight of clothes right there, spandex, you're showing me your parts. No. Show and do whatever you want. That is my way of thinking, my free way of thinking. And if it isn't so, then we're not able to be a new kingdom. We're going to condemn everyone that don't think like us. And in the new kingdom, it's going to be liberty, and it's not the social rules or ethical rules that our parents taught us. Because they taught us many things that are wrong. Many wrong things about sex, and about a whole bunch of things. So then, if we don't learn to change now, in this cup, the seventh one, we're not going to obtain it ever again. Because God says, no, if you want to end up being like me anyway, and say, oh, this one's a prostitute, this one had sex with that guy. And no, it's going to be, Yahweh says, you have to learn. In the skin of the Messiah, he looked at all of the religious people and said, you know what, the prostitutes and the thieves enter first into the kingdom of heaven. With that, he really hammered them, something that we don't even comprehend, because back in that time, like in my time, to be a prostitute was the most filthy thing and lowest thing. But in their time, it was even worse, because they would stone them. It was even worse. To be a prostitute, in other words, to be a woman that would lay with men that were not her husband, they were stoned to death. And that's why they brought this woman over to be stoned to death and for Jesus to say, yes, stone her. Because the Bible says, Moses says, our law says that any adulterous woman has to be stoned to death. In my time, she was not stoned to death, but she was completely taken out of the church and taken out as a good person. Pardon? They were shunned, yes. I was taught and I absorbed what my parents taught, and those around me that are prostitute was something that was so low that she could not deserve salvation. As long as she was still practicing prostitution is what I'm saying. I'm not saying one that was in the past, that was redeemed. No, I'm talking about a prostitute that was a practicing prostitute. That she doesn't deserve to even be looked at because she is the most filthy trash in our society. We don't stone her to death because we don't have that rule anymore, but in the mind of the people, they would stone her spiritually stoned to death. Now, what I say is all the contrary. It's all the contrary. Prostitution is so honorable as somebody that works in anything you do, whatever you want. I could care less what you think because I start to care about what I used to think. If we're not able to say the prostitutes and the evildoers go first into the kingdom of heaven, it's because we haven't seen our own condition. And our condition is of salvation, not of condemnation. I am sick and tired of those who condemn. That's why here I accept gay, transvestites, transsexuals right here. And if a transvestite comes and they post a picture of a transvestite, I'll put them a heart if they say Shabbat Shalom, not because of the picture, because I'm not about that. But if they say Shabbat Shalom in the group of the eternal truth and it's a trans person, he's a trans person, a man dressed as a woman or a woman dressed as a man, I'll give them a heart because I'm sick and tired of the condemnation. This religion is not to be condemned. That's why the people leave. And this is why maybe today we'll leave today, saying, oh, I want what's normal. What God made was a disaster. That's what God made. A disaster, what God made. What God made is a disaster. And he made it all disastrous so that the Messiah stops to do so and to do the disaster. So then, even when I see pictures of women that are passed around and what my mind or that are way too much tenor, too much makeup, I'm not going to say, oh, those pictures are out of here. She's showing too much. Are you trying to look for a macho selling yourself? And if she is, then she is. Because our nature is to look for a companion. Right. Go ahead, Ned. I just wanted to add just a little. Oh, Leslie liked what I'm saying. No, I was comment, but now that I have a mic, I'll press the red button. Well, what I wanted to add was, if I understand that many cannot comprehend what we're saying, what Christian is saying, but only when you start to be a leader of a group, do you notice that in that group that you're leading as if you were a teacher, you don't want like everyone the same by rules or conditions. They're all going to use this. They're all going to act like this. Everyone will have their skirt unto this many inches, or else we won't accept you. Right, of course. So those were conditions, rules and rules. How much can you show? How much can you do? Or what's right and what's wrong? I'm not sure if I'm getting through to you, but only by experiencing it did we notice that we don't want a group where everyone's the same. We don't want that. That they're not original. That does not awaken our love. That does not awaken even our admiration to every one of you. Every one of you has earned our admiration because one's different than the other. It doesn't matter if you're looking for a macho. It doesn't matter if you're looking for a female. It doesn't matter. if it's like, what do they say? If you were an adulteress or an adulterer, it doesn't matter if you like to be a prostitute or to tattoo yourself, exactly, or a lesbian, or to show cleavage or show from behind from a skirt, their ass, let's say. That is you. That is your personality. That is your way. It's the way of every man is. If they like another man, or you are serious and dry person, that's your personality. You're so valuable and so much accepted, and we appreciate you so much, just like someone that's different to you. That is what originality makes in a group of people, of friends. Nobody expects that a friend is equal to the other under conditions and rules. Because then there's no friendship there. There's no real friendship when you have to put so many conditions for them to actually be a friend. No. So then the one that is failing is the one that places the condition for you to enter into a group of friends. No. We go back to the religion. Exactly. The religion dictates certain conduct, certain way of being, the procedure, the clothes, a whole bunch of sacrifices and conditions. So then turn around, since you've been so conditional, and stop. How much that person likes me that is placing so many rules upon me? They don't like me at all. That is what we expect. A united group that actually respects each other the way they are. If there is something that's a little bit out of place, some angers or something like that, they can fix it. Even in the social media, everyone expresses what they feel, and they need to express what they feel. So then also that is respected on our behalf. Well, that's the way we see this gathering, these friends, that you freely can place something in the eternal truth in the official group of ours, and also to understand that if we don't like something, we need to delete it. Then also, you, on behalf of the other person, they have to say, "Oh, okay, that's as much permission that I've had," and well, they didn't like this. But it is a respect that goes back and forth, that's mutual in the personal life with no conditions, because when there's conditions start to be like, for example, in a wedding, I got married out of love. I was in love, without conditions. I am loving my husband because I love my husband. Yeah, imagine my husband were to tell me, "Oh, but this condition," then those conditions restrict you. Then, and you can't act freely. That's just what happens time and time again. Whatever the conditions might be, because here we have seen by experience that, of course, the man or the woman, they set the condition that they are faithful. And so then they say, "Oh, she's faithful," or "he's faithful," and that's why we're the perfect couple. Oh, no, no, no. That's not the reason why. The perfect couple is if you love each other. Because loyalty is already a condition. Unless you're loyal because you love them, if you're faithful because you love them, and you could not even think that there's be another man in your life or in the life of the husband, there's no other woman. It is out of love that union has to be there, not because of a condition, not because of a condition to and I apply that in anything. My wife is good, that's why I married her. Well, then there's no love. She's just good. It's a moment to divorce yourself. So then, that is what we're trying to do with this group from many years ago. For there to be harmony, for there to be unity, and something that unites us, that is a lot more than the rules and the conditions, and well, everything that the religions have. Just so you understand, if you post something in the eternal truth, or some group of the eternal truth, that we say that's out of place, then we do have the right to say, since this is our house, this is out of place, for you to post something. For example, go to this church, which is great. Just an example. or a message that we don't like, we can just delete it or tell them to delete it. Why? Because they're in our space. Now, if you add that in your own timeline, that's your problem. I'm going to be very drastic with this. It would be weird. I love to be like this. I don't like to advance just a little bit. And so then, like anyone, I advance a little bit. And then you understand it, but there's always rules. If in Facebook they would allow people to come out naked, and Facebook would not ban you, and the whole world would see it as normal for people to be naked, I would say, if you want, and it's in your personality to show nudes, then go ahead and publish them. Go ahead. Maybe if you publish them in the LVE official, and maybe if Leslie and I don't like them, we could say don't publish those, but publish them in your timeline. Not because of that will I take you out of the eternal truth, because what we practice here is what we're practicing to be a kingdom, and if we're going to start with regulations, what's right and wrong, then forget it. There won't be any differences with Babylon. Babylon, it's always regulations, what's right and wrong. And when we have to use something to cover up your mouth, they say we have to use it now, and when you have to use something else, they say now you have to use this other thing. So then we're sick and tired of the regulations. We believe in freedom and that the people can experience what is convenient to them and what is not. As long as you don't lie and you don't hurt others, for you to show up naked, we could care less. And if we start to think, oh, because she's a prostitute, then that's our problem already. But what we would not stand is that you raise false testimony. That for sure, like Leslie said very wisely, the social media are a weapon. You can use them for good, or for evil, or for very much evil. Why? Because you can lie. You can raise false testimony. You can do things that are very hurtful to the people and to form all kinds of things that we say conflicts that become ailments. I cannot bear that you lie and deceit, because if you lie or deceit, I feel deceived, or you deceive, saying barbarities of another person, that is completely unacceptable to me. Now, the whole rest, that one that you want to do doesn't affect the integrity of another person, that is your problem. Like I've given you the example that Facebook does not allow now. But if they were to allow nudes and you want to show nudes always, that is your problem. It doesn't affect me. I have the right to either look at them or not. That's it, it's over. But not to be lying about myself or about another person. So then the question is, you see that sometimes you post something in your timeline or your phone. What is your opinion? My opinion is that there's complete liberty as long as they don't hurt others and you don't lie. Does it influence for good or for evil? It will always have an influence for good and evil, both of them. Whether for those who see him or for those who see him, it influences those who see it and those who see it. If you try for it to be a positive influence always, then it'll be better. It'll be better. Because one can say things that are not for everyone. Exactly, and that's some rule that you should all learn, which is a good rule. If you want to give a message to someone, put name and last name of who the message is for. Don't just leave it in general for everyone to read and to apply it to themselves. You can't do that. You can, but it's like you're giving that message to every person that reads it. When you put it as anonymous, it's for everyone. You're slinging strays. Don't think that everyone's going to read that message and say, oh, this is not for me, it should be for some other person. No, everyone will apply it and say, what did I do to you? Or I differ with you. So then we apply what Leslie said. Don't give it importance. But we already have to have an action of protection. If they say men are all rapists because somebody felt raped or violated, if I read that stupidity, because it's a complete stupidity, if I read that stupidity and there's a reaction in me, I could say, well, it doesn't affect me, but it affected me because she insulted me, because she's saying all men, and that includes me. And I'm not a violator or rapist, and I won't ever be. So then I want to grab that person that wrote that, grab them by the neck, because they're lying. And that's a lie. So then that makes me get so upset with everything, Not for you that you're showing your tits. That's not gonna get me. It used to get upset me before, but not anymore. But that does upset me. With the indirect messages, you do them because you don't have the balls to actually say what you want to say. How many things have they told me of people that are not in the eternal truth, or maybe they are? I don't know. They are posting indirect ones to me, and I knew they were for me. I knew they weren't for me, but they go there, biblical texts, just biblical texts, biblical text. Take that. And you say, you read that and say, I mean, this goes against the message that Christian said, and yeah, everyone reads it. That is something that cowards do. If you want to post something you don't agree with something that I said, you either write to me or you say, Christian said this, and I tell the truth, differ with that. That would be more manly than to place a text sending a straight saying, I want to obey God than any man that calls himself the Messiah. And I'm like, who's he saying that? And then he says, no, it wasn't for you, it was for my husband. Fuck off. It was clearly for the message, for someone in specific. It's obvious, and I always overlooked it, but I have never overlooked it as a judgment upon that person. That forget it. I mean, that has been stay there. I read a message in my mind, not I, has a judgment. Like this person, they're either wise or dumb, directly dumb. Because a person that writes a message, not directed to anyone in specific, but you know what? Who's directed to? It's a person that doesn't have the balls to say what they think and whom they think it about. That's the way it is, and that is what I have to say. Yeah, it's understood what I'm trying to say, right? But does it affect? It does affect people. That is why be intelligent in what you post. Be intelligent. Speak about things that are direct to the person, or that, I don't know. I'm not going to place any rule, but I want you to know that when you put something, because the question here is, I believe that it's been clear. Yeah, it's clear because we talked about all types of things. Because the messages are not for everyone, then why do you put it for everyone? Tell it to the person that you have to say that to and give a good message for everyone. That's the way I think. If you want to say I'm sad, then put I'm sad. That's your problem. It's not the wisest thing there is, but you can post that you're sad if you want. I don't know. I'm not even want to say that it's because I start to place rules. I don't want to place rules. I want you to understand. For me, the social media, they are marvelous. Something that we should never lose. We should increment everything. That is my way of thinking. We also don't have to make ourselves slaves of them. I forgot to say those flowers, those orange ones, orange, deep orange, kind of red almost. It's an orange that's very red-like. They're spectacular. The Roblero family brought them. I don't know how they're called. They are precious. It's like they're painted because they have such a color. They are fantastic, and they're not painted. They are fantastic. You can see them there. I placed it in the best angle so you can see it there on video. They are spectacular. How beautiful. What beautiful flowers. Mamma mia, they're so beautiful. There is something that I do not accept in people. The only thing. You know what it is perfectly well. There's no need for me to tell you. Does anyone know? Exactly. It's a joke. I knocked everything over. This is the movie one, right? This is The Mandalorian? We haven't watched it yet. I wanted to take Leslie to watch it. I said, no, maybe this week. It's still on theaters, right? The Mandalorian? This is The Mandalorian. I don't know where the last one is, but this is The Mandalorian. Here it is. Here it is, Leslie. Is this not enough? Oh, look. She wants to go watch it. No, they're like orange daisies. They're daisies in English. Oh, margaritas are daisies in English, right? Here's The Mandalorian. Is this not enough, Leslie? Leslie wants to go watch this movie in the theaters. Yeah, there's something that I do not accept. For you to be from river. That is unacceptable in the eternal truth. You can be gay, but not a river fan. You can be trans, but not a river fan. You can be atheist even, but not a river fan. River is a big no. And if you truly ask me if a river fan were to come, we would accept them either way. We have to accept the lost chickens. I believe there is one from River. Yeah, there must be a couple river fans here and there. We have to accept the little chickens. They're going to have to stand us. Not because you're a river fan, am I going to kick you out. I'm not like that. We're going to have to bear with them, the little chickens. Anyway. Proverbs chapter 8. I'm going to read it once again, and today we wrap it up. Doth not wisdom cry and understanding put forth her voice? In the top of high places, by the way, in the places of the path, she standeth. At the entry of the city gates, at the entry of the doors, she crieth. O man, unto you I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. Understand, O simpletons, wisdom, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. Hear, for I will speak of excellent things. Actually, it says, things of royalty, as of dignity, royal things, of kings. I will speak things of excellence, of royalty, and open my lips for right things. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination unto my lips. I also apply this to the social media. Everything that you post, let it be true. That is all. That is the general rule. Whatever you post, let it be true. Don't lie. Don't raise false witness. Don't be a false witness. That's it. Let it be true. You're waiting for the love of your life, then publish. I'm waiting for the love of my life. See, he might show up. That's fine. Let it be true, though. Pardon me? Right, let it be true. Let it be true. I'm not in the mentality of the women are selling themselves, and if they raise their skirts is because they need to sell themselves. To top it off, we have a very short time of life. Women go past 20, and if they didn't catch anything, 20, 30, they're like, oh, she's already a single old lady. That's it, it's over, and then you're an old lady raising cats, and that's it, it's over. And the time to have children is already short because we have a limit. The life is a disaster. When we should have children barely when we get to 1,000 years old. No, notice the hormones. There are women that are ready to have children physically. I don't want your criticism right now. From 8 years old. There are cases of pregnancy even younger. I know that it's wrong for the body because it's the body of a child, but God made it so that she can already be pregnant. Some a little later, 10, 12, and some even later, 15, 18. I had a cousin that she didn't get her period until she was 20. Is that I found out, we all find out that she got her period. It's an experience, an anecdote. Not all women get their period at 12 years old. Some a lot earlier, and others a lot less, a lot later. What does this all mean then? It means that there's a time limit that's very short, and then it's passed. If you didn't grab that macho, whether he's good or bad, you lost the train. You missed out on the train. So what do I have to criticize? I don't have anyone to criticize. I'm sick and tired of the religions criticizing you that you should cover yourself to not have sex, to be a virgin. That God will bless you. He's not going to bless you anywhere. God is not even in matrimony or out of it. Forget it. That God won't ever bless you. It's all curses, because that's the way it is in order for the Messiah to bless you. So then the eternal truth is not a religion based in the Christian ethics. I want you to understand that. And little by little, it cost me to change it, but I had to change it to teach it to you for this world to change later completely. And there's a lot more. But the mind has to change. It says, "For my mouth shall speak truth. It is what I care about, the truth. And wickedness is an abomination unto my lips. Righteousness are all the words of my mouth. There is nothing froward or perverse in them. They are all the plain to him that understand it." Exactly. Those that don't understand, they're going to say, no, what he's saying is unbearable. It's wrong. They're all plain to them that understand it, and right to them that have found knowledge. Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. These are subjects, what I've just said, it's subjects that I don't want to go into, because it's not my idea to go into that, nor am I defending anything. But for the government to say, from 18 years old, a man and a woman can have sex if it's not illegal, and I think that's fine. Actually, I am accepting in something that is by imposition, because we would not exist, or any one of us, if our great grandparents had married with younger daughters or younger girls. They would not wait until they were 18 back then. They would let them wed from 12 years old and on, and even before. I don't want to get into the subject. I'm not defending anything. The only thing I'm saying is that when the government starts to regulate the ages, we're in a problem. Even if it would seem that it's correct, it's not correct. It's not correct. Because if it were correct, if it were right, then we would not have existed. The Torah prohibits relations between the unions between aunts and nephews or uncles and nieces. The Torah says it is a sin that they would have to stone them to death. An aunt and a nephew. But Moses is a son of the product of a guy with his aunt, or backwards, I can't remember. A dude with his aunt. So then the product of the one writing that, and it's prohibiting that under a death penalty, is the one that allowed Moses to live. And you might say, yeah, but of course now they understand they're not animals anymore. No. We've always been animals. I'm going to tell to you right now. But Moses would not exist if that rule had existed. So then you start to think, I want you to start to think, not under the mentality of the government. I know it's easy to indoctrinate you. It's easy. 18 years old, to barely then, for sex to be legal, that is decidedly wrong. No matter what you think. Because what you think is what you were indoctrinated to think. I'm not saying that an adult to grab a child. No, that's not what I'm saying. Nothing to do with the fact. I'm talking about two minors that want to get married, or that they had sex at 14 years old and they were left pregnant. Look back in your family. You're going to find that there's been pregnancies of way below 18 years old. Well, thanks to those that took place, do we all exist? Because before they had that rule, so then the question is, does the government have the right to morally legislate? Do they have the right of legislating when sex can be had and when they can't? Did you know that? Of course, you're going to say yes, all of you, yeah. But you don't understand that up until some years ago, the government of the U.S. would prohibit oral sex. under penalty of jail, and there are states still where oral sex is still prohibited. And don't even mention anal. Prohibited. A prohibition. You're going to find that to be ridiculous. How's the government going to prohibit oral sex? Just a soft one. There are states in the U.S. where it is in the legislation where it's prohibited. So then under that, the activity of oral sex is prohibited. You might say that's crazy. Well, it's just as crazy for them to say you can't have sex till you're 18. It is as crazy as that. Absolutely crazy. Because you like it for what you think it's okay, but for those who set that rule that they could not have oral sex, they thought it was all fine. It was all fine. There's other rules that are absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Since the time passed, they were forgotten. Well, I tell you, everything that the government legislates about sex, they have no right to legislate it. Like also they have no right to say you cannot smoke unless you're 21 years old. They have no right to say that. They have no right to say that. That is part of the parents, of the upbringing, and the individual. They have no right for the government to say when to have sex. They don't have the right to give the age. Understand it? Well, I'm not defending the guys that look for children. No, that's not what I'm saying. The subject is that I'm sick and tired that they legislate you. If a young man starts dating here, he's 21 years old, he's an adult, and he has a 17-year-old girlfriend. In the law, they either charge him that they had sex, or the parents of the girl or whatever, or the friends or whatever, however the case might be. Do you know how they brought a 21-year-old? No matter if the girl wants him, he's treating like a rapist, goes to jail. Who does the government think they are for them to decide? And I could give a fuck. The psychologists say, no. The mind is not developed yet. The psychologists don't understand absolutely anything. I could give a fuck what they think. Sex is natural ever since the children are born. Because ever since the children are born, there is a sexual attraction, an absolute sexual attraction of the child to the mother and all the rest. And everything else that shows up in the evolution of the child has many different evolutions of what, as far as sex goes. So then all those prohibitions, the only thing they do is to destroy society. That's the way it is. As you hear me say it, I am against any sexual rule that there is. Now, if there's anything out of place, then you can say, how is that out of place if there's no rules? How would you know? How would you know? Well, when there's some guy, some type of sex or manipulation against the will of the individual, then yes, it is a crime. Now, I'm not going to speak more about this because I don't want to make the subject about this. It's dangerous to speak about this because people understand whatever they want. The people understand whatever they want, but what I cannot understand is how in countries the law for sex legal is 16 and 18 here. And so then the difference of being a rapist is about just crossing border. That would be the difference, because if I'm in Mexico, 16, there's no problem. And if I cross the border, I'm a rapist here. So then people say, how does the world rule us? Here, depending on what the state is, true what Angelina says. Here, depending on the state, you're a rapist or not. Wow, that is the only thing that I'm complaining about. That's the only thing that I'm complaining about. And I would find it any sense if they would lower it, all types of sex and sexual relationships, to 14. If they would lower it to 14, I wouldn't say this. I would say that's fine, because 14, they're still children.
Y de
From
14
14
para
and above,
arriba
they
pueden
can do
hacer lo
whatever
que
they want.
quieran. No
No
importa
matter
si es una mujer de
if it's a
50 años.
50-year-old lady,
Una mujer de 50
50-year-old
años
lady
que se
who
acuesta con un
lays
chico
with a
de
50-year-old
14,
boy,
no
there
debería
shouldn't
haber
be any
ningún problema.
problem.
Pero
But
acá,
here,
¿saben
you know
cuántas
how many
maestras son
teachers they are
procesadas
processed here?
acá? He
I've
leído
read so
tantos
many
casos de
cases of
maestras que se llevan a
female
sus
teachers
alumnos a,
that
a la casa
their
y
students
le da
home and
clases
they give them
privadas.
private lessons.
Que para los, y acá
And
te
here they
hacen
make you
creer,
believe, here they
acá te
make you
hacen
believe
creer que le hace un
that
daño
it
al
really
niño.
hurts the child.
Yo
I
le
can
puedo
assure
asegurar,
you,
todo sueño de
every
los
dream
chicos
of the
jóvenes
young
es
men is
acostarse
to
con la
have sex with
maestra.
their teacher.
Y los daños está para sacarle plata
And it's
al
just to
sistema
get
y a la
money
maestra.
out of
En
the
realidad no hay
system and
ningún
the
daño.
teacher.
Es un sueño, es como llegar
It
al
is like getting
cielo,
to
que la
heaven, but the
maestra
teacher
encima te dé
to
clases
give you
privadas.
private lessons. But
Pero
of
claro,
course,
quizás no lo comprendes
maybe you
lo
don't
que digo
understand
yo.
what I'm
No te
saying. Don't
preocupes.
worry about it.
No hablé
I'm
para
not
vos.
speaking
Quizás
for
no
you.
lo comprendes.
Maybe you don't
Pero el
understand
daño
it, but the
psicológico, si la maestra no lo violó,
she
lo está
did great. She's
entrenando la
training him.
maestra. Y nunca
You
escucharon la
never
canción
heard
Hot for the Teacher de Van
for the
Halen.
teacher of Van Halen.
Porque los chicos se
The
enamoran de la
male
maestra.
students
Yo me
fall in
acuerdo
love
cuando iba a
with
la
the
escuela,
female
lo
teacher.
único que queríamos que la
When we
maestra
used to
se
go
cruce
to school, all we would
de
want is
piernas.
we were all
Entre todos
waiting
los chicos,
for
claro,
the
eso no lo vas a
female
escuchar
teacher
porque
to
no,
cross her
en
legs.
lugares
You're not
religiosos no lo
gonna
vas a
hear that
escuchar.
in
Siempre hablamos, si teníamos
religious
una vieja
places.
chota, diríamos, qué vieja de mierda, pero venía
But
una
if we
joven
had
o
an
un
old
reemplazo
teacher,
y los chicos,
oh, what a piece of shit. But if
nosotros
it
los
was a young
niños,
teacher,
estábamos todos
all
mirando
the
la
boys were
teta de la
looking at the
maestra,
tits of
si mostraba la
she
cola,
showed her
si mostraba
ass,
algo
if she
más,
showed more,
y hablamos entre
and would
nosotros, qué
talk
le harían
about
a la
what they would
maestra.
do to the
Así
female
son los
teacher. That's
niños.
what the kids are.
Y si no me
You don't
crees,
believe
es
me, that's
problema
your
tuyo.
problem.
Pero así ese es el
That's the
mundo
world
que
that we
vivimos.
live in.
Entonces yo
So
escucho
then I
acá,
hear, oh
no,
no,
le hacen un
they're
daño sexual a un
hurting
niño de
a
14
14-year-old
años porque
boy
estuvo
that
con la
had
maestra
sex
de
with a
40,
40-year-old
entonces quedó
female
trastornado
teacher.
psicológicamente.
He's
Wow,
psychologically
cómo me
ruined.
hacen
Oh, they make
reír,
me laugh.
la verdad, pero
But
bueno,
anyway,
deja
I'll
el
leave the
tema ahí.
subject. I'll
Ahí
leave the
dejo el tema.
subject right there. Because my mouth shall speak truth, and iniquity is an abomination to my mouth. They are righteous, all the words of my mouth. There's nothing perverse or forward, even if you think so. They're all righteous to them who understand, exactly, to those who understand, and reasonable to them that have found wisdom. Receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge, rather than choice gold. I like the way it says in the New Living Translation, where it says, choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I will stop to think about that text. To highlight it, it makes no justice for the text. There's nothing more valuable than what wisdom is. And wisdom is exactly what you are receiving, even if it may seem a little difficult to accept. Actually, it's wisdom because when we start to make rules about everything, the ages for everything, then we stop being wise and we start to make a religion again. I, wisdom, actually it says I am, wisdom, which is different to say I, wisdom. It's the same thing, but I like it more if it says I am. The Messiah would say I am. I am the wisdom. Do inhabit with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. The fear of Yahweh is to hate evil. You know perfectly well, or else I'll remind you, the fear of Yahweh is precisely the fear of becoming Yahweh. And Yahweh is everything that has ever happened in this world. The religions, science, Babylon, it's all about Yahweh. And we have to have fear of becoming Yahweh. Precisely Yahweh made the Messiah for them to not become him. He made everything twisted for the Messiah to make straight. If we start to see, oh, but this one's fine, the way he thinks here, that's fine, then we start to see, absolutely, we don't make anything straight. We see what's twisted, and we see it as fine. The fear of Yahweh is the fear of becoming Yahweh. It is to hate evil. precisely.
Ese
That
temor
fear
es
is to
aborrecer
hate
el mal.
evil.
¿Quién
Who's
es el
evil?
mal? Él.
He
Él
is
es el
evil.
mal
Personified.
personificado.
Yahweh is.
Yo soy
I'm
el
good
bien,
and
yo soy
evil.
el mal.
That is
Eso
what
es lo
Yahweh
que
is. We
nosotros
have
tenemos
to
que
comprehend
comprender
that
que
he
hizo
made
todo mal y
everything
se
evil,
presentó
present
como mal
himself as
para que el
evil, so
Mesías
that
haga
the
todo bien.
Messiah turns
Entonces,
everything good. So then
debemos
we have
tener
to have fear
temor
of
de
becoming in
convertirnos en
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
We
Debemos
must hate
aborrecer
evil.
el mal. La soberbia
Pride
y
and
la
arrogancia,
arrogancia, el mal
evil
camino
way, and
y
forward
la boca
mouth
perversa
do I hate.
aborrezco. La
Pride,
soberbia,
arrogancy,
la arrogancia,
the
el
evil
mal
way,
camino
and the
y la
forward
boca
mouth do
perversa
I hate. All
aborrezco.
that,
Todo eso
apply it
aplíquenlo
also
también en las redes
to the
sociales.
social media.
La
Pride,
soberbia, la
arrogancy,
arrogancia,
the
el
evil
mal
way,
camino y
and
la
the
boca
forward mouth
perversa
do I hate.
aborrezco.
14.
14. Conmigo está el
Counsel
consejo
is
y el
mine,
buen
and
juicio.
sound wisdom.
Yo
I am
soy la
understanding.
inteligencia.
Like
Dijo
he said
antes, yo
before,
soy la
I am
sabiduría,
wisdom.
ahora
Not
dice,
he
yo
says
soy
I
la
am
inteligencia.
wisdom.
Mío es el
Power
poder.
is mine.
En
In
algunas
some
versiones,
versions, or the
el
original
original dice
says,
también, yo soy
I
el
am
poder.
power.
O sea que la
So then
sabiduría
wisdom
es,
is,
yo
I am
soy la
wisdom,
sabiduría,
I am
yo soy la
intelligence, and I
inteligencia
am
y yo soy
power.
el poder.
Those
Esas
three
tres
characteristics,
características,
wisdom,
sabiduría,
intelligence,
inteligencia y
and
poder,
power,
es del
are the
Mesías.
Messiah.
Estamos viendo
We're
una
seeing a personification
personificación
of
del
the
Mesías.
Messiah. By
Por
me,
mí
do
reinan los
kings
reyes y
reign
los
and
príncipes
princes
determinan
decree
justicia.
justice. It
No
doesn't say
dice
that.
eso.
It doesn't say
No
that.
dice eso.
It says,
Dice,
by
por
me
mí
shall they
reinarán.
reign.
Las versiones
The Jewish
judías
versions
dicen
clearly
claramente, por
say
mí
that they
reinarán.
shall
Ellos no
reign.
reinan
They don't
por
reign
él.
for him, evidently.
Evidentemente, si reinaban
If
por
they
él
were to
serían
reign
justos,
for him, they'd be
serían
righteous,
sabios, serían
wise,
inteligentes,
intelligent,
algo que no son.
which they are not.
Entonces, justamente,
So then,
no
as it
están
turns
reinando
out,
por
they're
él.
not reigning for
A
him
menos que los querramos ver que están reinando
unless
ahora por él
that we
para
want to
que
see
algún
it
día él se levante y los
from the point
destruya.
of view that they're reigning now so that he rises
Lo que
one day and
dice es,
destroys
por mí
them.
reinarán
But he
los
says,
reyes
they
y
kings
los
shall reign and the
príncipes
princes shall decree
determinarán
justice.
justicia.
By
Por mí
me shall the
dominarán los
princes
príncipes
rule,
y todos
and
los
nobles, and
gobernadores
even all the
juzgarán
judges
la
of the
tierra,
earth, or
o
they shall
juzgarán según
judge.
fuese justo, como dice
Like
la
it says
versión
in the
judía.
Jewish version,
Yo amo
I
a los
love
que
them
me
that
aman.
love me. That is
Eso
clear.
está claro.
I
Yo
love
amo
them
a
that
los
love
que
me.
me aman. Y
And
me
those
hallan
that
los
seek
que
me
temprano
early shall
me
find me.
buscan.
Why does it say, I love them that love me? Should the
la
wisdom not
sabiduría
love
amar a
everyone?
todos. En realidad
Actually,
ama a todos, pero lo que se
The
está
wisdom does
refiriendo
love
acá
everyone, but it's
es que
what
les
it's referring
devuelve
to
el
is
amor
that
a
it
los que la aman.
returns the love to those
Porque
that love
si
him.
amas la sabiduría,
Because if you
entonces
love wisdom,
la
then wisdom
sabiduría
enters
entra en tu
into your
vida.
life. If
Si
you hate
odias la
wisdom,
sabiduría, como
like the
termina el
chapter
capítulo,
ends,
todos
all
los
that
que me
hate me
odian,
hate,
odian la muerte,
love
aman
death.
la muerte.
It is
Y
precisely
justamente la sabiduría
wisdom
y
is
la vida.
life.
Si vos
If you
odias
hate
la
wisdom,
sabiduría, en
actually,
realidad estás
you
amando
love
otra
something
cosa.
else.
¿Y qué es lo
What
que
is it
amas?
that you
El
love?
amor.
It is death.
Pues la
Because
sabiduría
wisdom is
es
life.
vida. Acá está
Here it
representado
is
en el próximo
represented in the
capítulo,
next
ya
chapter, we're
lo
already
está
seen, it's
representado una
represented as a
mujer.
woman.
La sabiduría
Wisdom
es
is a
una
woman.
mujer. Y ahora
And now,
la necedad es otra mujer.
the
Que la
foolishness
representa
is
a la
another woman,
prostituta.
which is the prostitute.
El mal
The
que
evil
tiene
that
la
the
prostituta. La
the
prostituta
prostitutes
tiene una
have,
necedad,
like
está
something
representada en la
foolish.
Biblia.
It's represented as in the Bible. We have to understand it that way.
Ahora, los que
Now, those
aman
that
la
love wisdom
sabiduría
receive
reciben vida.
life,
Y los que aman a la
and
otra
those that love
mujer
the other
es
woman, it is
muerte.
death.
¿Cuál es
What
el
is
fin de
their
ellos?
end?
El sepulcro.
The
Siempre
grave.
dice
It always
sepulcro.
says it.
El
The
fin de ellos es
grave, the
sepulcro,
grave, the
sepulcro.
grave.
Y acá termina
And
este
here this
capítulo
chapter
que dice,
ends, which says,
los que
those
me
that hate
odian
me
en
actually
realidad
love
aman la
death,
muerte, porque la
because
sabiduría
wisdom
es
is
vida.
life. So then,
Entonces, no solamente
not
es
just
yo soy la
in my
sabiduría,
wisdom,
yo
but
soy
I am
la
intelligence,
inteligencia,
I
yo
am
soy
the
el poder,
power,
yo
I
soy
am
la
life.
vida. Y ahí
And
te
there
das
you
cuenta
see
que
that
está
it's
hablando
talking about
no de una
not of a simple
simple
definition of
de
wisdom,
sabiduría, sino
but
de
of
una
an entity,
entidad que es el
which is the Messiah, the new God of the earth.
Yo amo
I
a los
love
que
them
me
that
aman,
love
y
me,
me
and those
hallan
that
los
seek
que
me
temprano
early shall
me
find
buscan.
me. In other
O
words,
sea que no se deja hallar tan
she doesn't
fácilmente
let herself to be found so
porque
easily because it
cuesta
is
entender lo que la
difficult to
sabiduría
understand
está
what wisdom is
diciendo.
telling you.
Y
That's
por
why
eso ese,
Those
los que
that
temprano
early
me
seek
buscan
me
es los que
is that those that
inteligentemente me
diligently
buscan,
seek
los
for
que
me,
hacen
those
un
that
esfuerzo
make
en buscarme.
mental effort.
Eso es lo que
That is what it says.
Las
Riches and honor are with me. riches
duraderas
that are
y
durable,
justicia.
riches and righteousness.
Justamente,
Precisely. What
¿qué otra
else?
cosa más? Es la justicia.
Justice. So
Entonces,
then
¿qué
what
es
is
la
wisdom?
sabiduría? La
Wisdom
sabiduría
is,
es, yo soy
I
la
am wisdom,
sabiduría, yo
I
soy
am
la
intelligence,
inteligencia, yo
I
soy
am
el
power,
poder, yo
I
soy
am
la
justice,
justicia,
I
yo
am
soy la
life.
vida. Mejor es mi
My fruit
fruto
is
que
better
el
than
oro.
gold.
Y
Yeah,
que el
than
oro
fine gold,
refinado,
not
no
just any
cualquier
gold.
oro. Y
And
mi
my
rédito,
revenue,
mi
my earnings,
ganancia,
better
mejor
than
que la
choice
plata
gold.
escogida. Por vereda
In
de
the way of
justicia
righteousness
guiaré,
shall I
porque yo
lead,
soy la
because I am
justicia, dice
righteousness, wisdom says.
sabiduría. Por vereda de
I
justicia
lead in the
guiaré,
way of
por
righteousness,
medio,
in the midst
por en medio
of
de
the
sendas
paths
del
of judgment.
juicio. Y
And judgment
juicio,
it is
juicio
judgment, it is
derecho, y
right,
es todo
and
lo que
everything
tenga
that
que ver
has
con
to
la
do with
justicia.
justice.
Para
That I
hacer
may
que
cause
los
that
que
those
me
that love
aman
me
tengan su
to inherit
heredad.
substance. Exactly.
Exactamente. ¿Por qué hace
What
toda
is
justicia?
the
Hacer
justice
que
do all
tú
that? To
recibas tu
make
heredad.
it so that you receive
Hacer
your
que los que
inheritance.
me
It says,
aman
so that those
tengan
that
su
love me
heredad
will
y
get
que
their
yo
inheritance
llene
and that I will
sus
fill their
tesoros.
treasures.
Esto me
I
encanta.
love this
La
wisdom.
sabiduría, los que
Those
aman
that
la
love wisdom
sabiduría y los que
and those that
entren a ser parte de la
become part of
sabiduría
wisdom
son
are
los
those
que
that
van a
will
ser los
be the
más
most rich
ricos de
of
la
existence.
existencia.
Why?
¿Por qué? Porque la sabiduría
Because
te
wisdom fills you
te
with
llena de
treasures.
tesoros. Como en la
Just
Biblia
like in the
textual
textual
dice,
Bible,
y
it
hago
says,
que
and
los
I
que me
cause for them
aman
that love me
obtengan
to
su
obtain the
heredad,
inheritance.
herencia,
Yes,
para
that
que
I
yo
may
llene
fill
sus
their
tesoros.
treasures. So then,
Entonces,
let
vamos
us
al
go to the
texto
text
de
of the
la
invitation.
invitación.
Yahweh
Yahweh
possessed
me
me in the
poseía en el
beginning,
principio, ya de antiguo antes de
before his
sus
works
obras.
of old. Who
¿Qué
is
es
wisdom?
la sabiduría es el Mesías.
Wisdom
No hay
is
otra
the
cosa.
Messiah. There's nothing else. It
La
is very clear.
sabiduría es el
Wisdom is
Mesías.
the Messiah. And the
El
Messiah
Mesías
is
es
a
un
group
grupo
of
de
people.
personas. No es una
Not just
sola
one
persona,
person.
es un
It's a
grupo
group
de
of people.
personas. Por
That's
eso
why
está
it is
representado
represented
hombre
as
y mujer.
male and
Ya no
female.
era
They were
uno.
not one.
Cuando
When
Dios
God
hizo
made them, He
a
made a
hombre y mujer.
man and a
Hagamos al
woman.
hombre a nuestra imagen. Y
Let
los
us
hizo
make man
varón y
in our
hembra.
image, made him
Varón y hembra
male
los
and
creó.
female. Created He them. The
Mesías
Messiah is
una
a multiplicity
de
of
hombres y
men and women.
Eso es el
That is what the
Mesías.
Messiah
Es
is.
el
It is
nuevo
the new
gobierno
government of the earth. 23. Eternally,
Eternamente
was I set up. Why eternally?
Eternamente tuvo el principado y el que se
What does it mean to be appointed as prince? A prince is the son of a king, and when the king dies, there'll be a king. This is what a prince is. The prince is the son of the king, and when he dies, he'll be the king. So while he's a prince, everyone knows that he is the heir to the throne. That's why it's eternally I was appointed. My reign was my dad's, but I'll inherit it. There's no better way of understanding, of being able to explain this text that's so marvelous. Eternally was I appointed. It means from the very beginning and for all eternity have I been the prince that will receive this kingdom. Why? Because my dad, who created me, who conceived me, who will inherit everything over to me, he leaves. I am the prince until I'm the king. Eternally was I set up. From the beginning, before the earth was. So then the earth was made by and for the, when I say by, I'm not saying that the Messiah made it. No. It is the motive. It was made for him, for the Messiah. And I will read it once again because I love this text and I want for you to comprehend this, to click in your mind. When you read eternally, was I set up as prince from the beginning before the earth? To relate it immediately with this, Isaiah 9, 6 through 7, for a child is given us. That child is the Son of Man that represents the Messiah, which are many that will compose it. A child is born, the Son of Man. A son is given unto us, and the government is upon his shoulder. Exactly the same word. The government is upon his shoulder, which is the title, prince, because he's the son of the king, and will obtain upon his
sobre su hombro
shoulder
es
is
ya
that he
lo
already
tiene.
has it. Exactly.
Exactamente.
He has the
Tiene
title,
el título y tiene ya
and he already has the inheritance,
la herencia,
the title.
el título.
The title
Ese es
of
el
property,
título de propiedad. Y se
and
llamará
his
su
name
nombre
shall be called
Admirable
Wonderful
Consejero.
Counselor, because actually
Porque en realidad
is
es
Wonderful
Admirable
Counselor, not
Consejero,
Wonderful,
no es
comma,
Admirable
Counselor.
Consejero,
It's
es Admirable
Wonderful Counselor.
Consejero.
Who's the only
¿Quién es
Wonderful
el
Counselor?
Admirable
It is the
Consejero?
Messiah,
Es el
of
Mesías,
course.
por supuesto.
The mighty God.
Dios fuerte.
This child
Este
becomes
niño se convierte
a
en un
mighty God.
Dios fuerte.
It's not when I say the
No
new
cuando
God
yo
of the
digo, no, que
earth,
Dios de la tierra
it
es
is
un
just a
cuento
Chinese
chino
story
que
that I
no
don't know
sé
where I
de
got
dónde
it from.
salió.
No, it is
No,
very
está
clear
muy claro.
that
Ese
son that
hijo
is
que
born
es nacido con
with
el principado sobre su hombro se
the
convierte en
government
un Dios
upon his
fuerte.
shoulder, he becomes a
¿Cuándo
mighty
se
God.
convierte
When
en
does
Dios
that
fuerte?
happen? When he
Cuando
receives the
recibe el
kingdom,
reino.
he becomes a
Se
mighty God.
convierte en Dios fuerte.
Everlasting Father. What do you mean,
Eterno.
Father?
¿Y cómo padre?
Father is
Su
God the
padre
Creator?
es el
No.
Dios creador, no.
God the Creator is
Dios
also a
creador
Father.
también es padre.
But this one
Pero
becomes
este se
the
convierte en
Father
el
of
padre de la
redemption. The other one's the
redención.
Father
El
of
otro es el padre
creation
de la
of this
creación
world,
del
and this one's the
mundo,
Father
y este
of
es
the
el padre
creation
de la
of the new
creación
world.
del nuevo mundo.
Because the creation of the
Porque
new
la
world
creación del nuevo mundo está en manos
is in the
de
hands of this
este
mighty God.
Dios fuerte.
So then,
Entonces,
everlasting Father
Padre
of the new
eterno de la nueva
creation
creación
and
y
redemption.
de la redención.
Prince of
Príncipe de
Peace.
paz,
Because
porque
it's
no
not
no
just
es un Dios,
a
no
God
es un
like
Dios
his
como su
Father,
padre,
who's a God of
que es un
war,
Dios
a
de guerra,
God
que es un Dios
of evil.
del mal.
He is a
Es un
prince and will be a
príncipe
God
que
of
es el
peace.
Dios de paz.
The
Los
increase
dilatados de
of
su
his
imperio,
government,
es
notice
decir, que
that
todavía
he
no
does
gobierna ni
not
nada, pero te dice
rule
la
yet,
profecía.
but the prophecy says
¿Cuánto va a durar su
how
imperio?
long
Lo
his
dilatado de su
empire
de
will
su
last. The
imperio.
increase of
Y
his
la paz
empire
no
and
tendrá
peace
límite.
shall
O
have
sea que
no
ya
end.
no tiene límite.
So then he won't have
No
any
como el de
limits
Dios,
anymore,
que
not
tiene
that
un
of
límite de
God that
6.000
has a
años.
limit of
Dios
6,000 years.
creador, él se puso el límite.
God the Creator, He
Yo voy a
put
ser
a
Dios sobre
limit on
esta tierra por
Himself.
6.000
He says,
años.
I'll be the God of this
En
earth
el
for 6,000
séptimo
years, and on the
milenio,
seventh
yo
millennium I
descanso,
rest,
me retiro.
I retire.
Pero mi heredero,
But my
el
heir,
creador,
the Creator
ese
says,
hijo de hombre,
that Son of Man
se convierte en Dios
becomes
fuerte
a mighty
y
God
nunca
and
entra
never
en
enters
el
into
descanso,
rest,
nunca.
never.
Porque dice
Because He
lo
says,
dilatado de su imperio y la paz
the
no
increase
tendrán
of His
límite.
government and
Sobre el
peace shall
trono de David
have
y
no
su
end
rey
upon
y
the throne
sobre
of
su
David and
reino,
upon His kingdom,
disponiéndolo
to
y
order it and to
confirmándolo en
establish it with
juicio y
judgment and with
justicia.
justice.
Juicio y justicia es la
Judgment
característica
and
del Dios de
justice. It is the
justicia,
characteristic of the
la
God of justice,
característica del
characteristics of the
Mesías.
Messiah.
Desde
From
ahora,
henceforth,
cuando se dé
when
esto,
this
y para
takes place,
siempre,
and
va
forever,
a terminar nunca.
it'll
Va a
never
entrar en el
end,
descanso nunca.
will retire
El
never.
celo de
The
Yahweh
zeal
de
of
los
Yahweh of
ejércitos hará
hosts will
esto. El
perform
celo
this.
es
The zeal
realmente la
is
palabra
actually the word,
celosa
the
del Dios
zealous
creador
word
va a
of
hacer
the
esto.
God
¿Por
Creator
qué?
will do this.
Porque
Why?
lo dice, porque todo
Because
fue
He said so,
diseñado.
because
¿Por
it's
qué
all been
digo?
designed.
No hay
Why?
posibilidad que
There's
no
no
cumpla su
possibility
palabra.
that God, there's no
Porque
possibility that He won't fulfill His
justamente
word, because
todo lo que
precisely
vemos
everything
y
that
hemos
we see and
existido,
that we
lo
have
hizo
ever
para el
existed, He
Mesías.
did it for the Messiah.
¿Cómo no va a cumplir su
Why is He
palabra
not
si
going to fulfill
en
His
realidad
word?
para él
If actually
todo
for
lo que
Him,
hizo fue
everything
para el
He's done was
Mesías?
for the Messiah.
Entonces,
So
cuando
then,
el Mesías
when the Messiah
sea
is
elevado
elevated
Dios fuerte,
to mighty God,
todo
everything,
su reino
all of His kingdom,
nunca más
never
va a entrar
again will it
en,
enter
eh,
into
un descanso como
a
dice de su
rest
padre. Es
like
un reino
that of His
eterno.
Father. It's an
¿Y por
eternal
qué Dios lo va a
kingdom. And
cumplir?
why will God fulfill
Porque
this?
es la misión
Because it is the
de
mission
vida,
of
la
life,
misión de vida
or
de
the
esta
mission of
tierra.
life of this
Esta
earth.
tierra existe
This
para el
earth
Mesías, nada más.
exists for the Messiah,
No
nothing
es
else.
el Mesías la solución de la
The
tierra,
Messiah
no,
is not the
no.
solution of the earth, no,
La tierra
none
es la
whatsoever.
casa
The
del
earth is the house
Mesías
of the
y fue
Messiah, and
diseñada
it
y
was
creada
designed
para
and
él.
created for Him.
Por eso Dios va a
That's why
cumplir.
God
El
will
celo de
fulfill it.
Yahweh de
The
los
zeal of
ejércitos
Yahweh
hará
of
esto,
hosts
te lo
will do
está
this. He's
declarando
declaring it right there by
Isaías.
Yahweh, Isaiah.
Volvemos
We go
a
back
Proverbios.
to Proverbs.
El 23
Number
dice,
23 says,
eternamente tuve el
I was set
principado
up from
desde el
everlasting
principio,
and
antes de la
from the
tierra.
beginning, before the
Antes de
earth
los abismos
was,
fui
before the
engendrado o
depths,
concebida,
I
la
was
misma
brought
palabra.
forth or conceived, same word.
Antes de que fuesen las fuentes
When
de
there
las
was no
de las
fountains
muchas aguas.
abounding with water.
Esto tiene una cantidad de
This has a whole bunch of
connotaciones,
connotations
pero
but
los judíos le dan.
that the Jews give
Yo
it.
no le vi
I
mucho
didn't see
sentido,
many
ni siquiera
sense,
tratar de
not even to
entender
try
por
to
qué dice,
understand why it
antes
says,
de los abismos fui
before the
engendrado.
depths
Los
was I
abismos son los
conceived. The
océanos.
depths are the oceans.
Ya me dijo claramente
He
que
clearly
fui
already told
engendrado
me
antes
that
de
I
la
was
tierra,
conceived before the earth, before everything that he made. But so that it's clear, he says, before the oceans existed, I had already been conceived. Conceived in the mind of the Creator, that is. So then the oceans are for the Messiah. before the fountains of the many waters, before the mountains were settled, all the mountains, everything we see, before the hills, was I brought forth or conceived. Everything, all the mountains you see, when you see a mountain, that mountain was made for the Messiah, and it was made after the conception of the Messiah. We're so important, as what it says here, impressive, before the oceans, before the mountains, and yes, he had yet to make the earth. What's it referring to? The land, the dust of the earth, or the entire earth? I think it's referring to the dry land. Dry land. Nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. Exactly, because first where Yahweh marked the territory was all water. For that very reason, it's the order that he gives. Before the depths was I conceived, it means that where we live, it was a place covered by water. Covered by water, that he had to have created it before, or somebody created it for him. I don't know. I don't know the story. We don't know how long this existed before, because it was part. One thing that we understand is that this was part of the territory of heaven is. Because heaven is accessed by the south, where Antarctica is somewhere. It's the gates to heaven. Do you have proofs of that? No, I don't have proofs, but I also have no doubts. That is the proof of heaven. Exactly, that is the gate of heaven. And that's why it'd be great to go to that part. You know, to start with the Malvinas Islands and the ministry of the Messiah, or the Antarctica, but that is where the gate unto heaven is. That's why there's something there that precisely all of the governments made a treaty saying no one enters here. Why not? We want to go see. No, nobody enters here. You cannot see what we have here. Why not? Well, no, because we're taking care of the ecosystem. Why don't you shut your ass? What is there? They don't let you see what is there. They don't let you see. Why? Because there's something there. And in my opinion, clearly the entrance into heaven, that there's a natural barrier that they cannot cross. But taking that out, doesn't matter. When God created the world, he said, well, I'm going to create the world. It says that the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the abyss. The face of the abyss were the waters. It was all waters. And the wisdom says, before even those waters existed, I was conceived. So then, having understood this, these waters was made by that same creator. Because I said something else before, but having understood clearly that the conception of the Messiah was done before the waters that take place of this territory, is that all this extension was made by him before. He did it after even making the idea of a Messiah. It says, before the depths I was conceived, so then before those waters even existed, he was conceived. That's why he says, talks about the depths, then the mountains, because the first things that came up were the mountains, and then the dry land. Precisely, that's what it says. He hadn't even done the earth, nor the fields, nor the dust of the world. As it turns out, none of that existed, but she had already been conceived in the mind of the Creator. Of course, absolutely. He's saying every detail of the creation was made for the Messiah. When I formed the heavens, when he formed the heavens, I was there. Where? In the mind of the Creator. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. Okay, I'll say this again for those that have yet to understand that we live in a completely flat earth. Because the Bible, not because the Bible says it. You should go and go measure the curvature that does not exist. But the earth is flat. You understand that the word, listen well, you understand that the word depths are oceans. In other words, water in abundance. So then he says he traced a circle upon the face of the waters. And out of that circle, he made heaven. How do you understand that clearly? All this blue that you see here, it's a little place of a place that is a lot bigger, a lot bigger.
Dentro de esa pileta,
Now within
para
that
nuestra mente
bathtub,
exorbitantemente grande,
for our mind that
esta mancha
is
azul que ves ahí,
massively
no es
huge,
todo el agua que
it is not all the water
existe,
that
no,
exists.
mucho más
No,
grande
he
que
made it
esto.
all bigger.
Entonces trazó
So
un
then he
círculo, este es el círculo
crossed
que ves que
he
trazó.
set a circle. This is the
Un
circle that you see,
círculo
a circle.
sobre la faz de
Upon the
las aguas,
face
no sobre
of
la
the
faz
waters,
de
not the
la
face
nada,
of nothing,
y que creó una bola.
and that he created a
No,
ball. No,
hizo un círculo
it's a
sobre
circle
el agua.
upon the
Y
waters.
dice que ahí
And
afirmó
it
los
says that
cielos.
there he set up the
Esto
heavens. That right
es muy
here.
claro
It is very
para
clear
quien lo quiere ver.
for those that want to
¿Cómo?
see it.
¿Dónde está afirmado el cielo
Where
en el
is
agua?
heavens?
El
And
cielo
they are
que nos
set
cubre
in the depths.
está
The
afirmado en el
heavens
agua, porque
that
estamos
cover us,
presos en una bola
they
de cristal,
have their
tal
base in the
cual como la
waters
ves acá.
because we're in a crystal ball,
El
just like you see it
cielo
here.
que vos ves
The
de noche
heaven that you see
termina
at night
tocando
ends
el
touching
agua
the
en
water.
algún punto. Por
And
eso
at
no
some
nos
point in
dejan
time,
ir,
that's why they don't let us
porque nos
go.
vamos a encontrar
Because we're going to
con
run
que de golpe el
into
cielo se hace rígido
the
y termina ahí.
the
Y lo
heaven
vamos a
becomes
tocar.
rigid and we'll touch
Igual
it.
en la
Equal
película
to the movie,
Truman Show,
The Truman Show,
que veía el mar,
that he looked
la
at the
inmensidad de las nubes, y de golpe
sea
quiso
and the clouds,
irse,
and then he
escapar.
wanted to
Y
leave and
claro,
escape. And
el
of
Dios
course,
de
the
ahí,
God
que se
there
llamaba, no
that
sé,
was, I don't remember,
Christopher, no sé qué era,
Christopher something,
Cristo,
he was a
le hizo
Christ.
una tormenta
He caused
que
a storm
hubiera
that would have
hecho
caused
que se vuelva cualquier ser
for
humano,
any
no sé.
human being to
Él
turn
estaba
back except for him,
decidido a
but he was
llegar
decided
al fin
to
del
get
mundo.
to the end of the world.
Y pasó la tormenta
And he passed
y llegó,
the storm,
y de golpe
and he
tocó
got there, and all of a sudden he touched
duro.
something hard.
Duro.
Hard.
Eso es lo que él pensaba que
That
era
is
una
what he thought
infinidad,
was an
duro.
infinity,
Y
infinity,
se
something
subió una
hard.
escalera, abrió
He
una
went
puerta
up
y se fue para
at
adentro.
some stairs,
Bueno, esto
opened the
ocurre
door,
con
went
nosotros
in.
acá.
That
Quiero
is
que
what
entiendan.
happens with us here. I
Nosotros
want you to
estamos
understand.
encerrados en algo
We
rígido.
are
Por eso mismo,
kept
es tan
inside something rigid.
magnífico
That's why
leer
it's
la
so
escritura
magnificent
que
to read the
concuerda con
scriptures,
esto.
and it coincides with
El
this.
cielo
Heaven,
duro,
the hard heaven,
hay un punto que llega
there's a
y
point
toca el
that
agua.
it touches the
¿Por
water.
qué? Porque estamos encerrados.
Why? Because
Lo leo de
we
vuelta.
are inside,
Cuando
confined.
formaba los cielos,
I'll read it again. When he prepared the
allí
heavens,
estaba yo.
I was there.
Cuando trazaba
When he
el
set the
círculo,
circle,
el círculo del
the
que
circle
estamos
of what?
escuchando,
He's
del cielo.
explaining of
Cuando
heavens.
trazaba el círculo de
When he
los
set the
cielos
circle of
sobre la
heavens
faz del
upon the face
abismo,
of the depth,
sobre la faz
the face
del océano.
of the ocean.
El cielo está trazado
Heaven
sobre lo
is
que era un gran
encompassed
océano.
upon what was a great
Ahí
ocean.
trazó el cielo
That's
y
where
lo
he
puso.
set the circle and placed
Miren
heaven.
cómo dice la
Look at
Jerusalén
it says
2001,
Jerusalem 2001,
Proverbios 8:27,
Proverbs
Jerusalén
8:27,
2001.
Jerusalem
Cuando
2001.
colocaba los
When he
cielos,
placed the heavens,
como cuando colocaba
just like
los
when he
cielos.
placed
Porque
the
los cielos
heavens.
se colocan así,
Because the heavens are placed
como una
like this.
cúpula. Dice, vamos a colocar
It's like a
la
dome.
cúpula.
Let's place the
Ok, estos
dome
son
like
los
this.
cielos.
These are the
Dice,
heavens.
cuando colocaba
When
los
he placed the
cielos,
heavens,
ahí estaba yo.
there was I.
Dice,
He said,
dice
there
Jerusalén.
is how
Cuando
the Jerusalem
colocaba
was.
los cielos,
When I
aquí
placed the
estaba
heavens,
yo.
there was I.
Cuando trazaba la
And we
bóveda
set
sobre la
the
superficie
dome
del
upon the
océano.
face,
Es lo que
surface
les
of the
muestro,
ocean.
claro.
That is more than clear right there.
Si con esto no lo percibís,
If you
yo lo
don't perceive
entiendo.
it
Está
with him,
escrito.
so understand that
Cuando
it's written.
trazaba la bóveda,
When he
que estaba colocando la
traced
bóveda
the dome
sobre la superficie
upon the
del
surface
océano,
of the ocean,
porque obviamente
because obviously
hablamos de océano.
an
¿Dónde estaba
abyss or the
colocando
deep
esto?
is the
Sobre
ocean.
el
Where was he
océano. Sobre el
placing this?
océano.
Upon the
Acá está
ocean.
la sabiduría.
This is
La
wisdom.
gente es sabia. No, no es
Are the
sabia.
people wise? No, they're not
La gente
wise.
entiende la
Do the
sabiduría.
people understand
No, no la
wisdom? No, they
entiende.
don't understand it.
¿Por qué nosotros entendemos
Why
esto?
do we understand
Porque
this?
nosotros
Because
somos
we
la sabiduría.
are wisdom.
Así es.
That's the way it is.
Parece un poco
It would seem
agrandado de mi parte, no.
a little
Nosotros
proud on
somos
my
ese hijo de
behalf.
hombre.
No, we
Y
are
si no
that son of
entendemos
man, and
eso,
we don't understand that.
olvídense que seamos la
Forget it
sabiduría.
that we're
Dice,
wisdom.
cuando colocaba la
It says when he was
bóveda
placing the dome
sobre el
upon the
océano,
ocean,
aquí
there was
estaba
I.
yo.
And
Y
yes, I
confirmo,
confirm
no tengo
it.
pruebas,
I
pero
have
allí
no
estaba
proof,
yo.
but there was I.
Allí estaba
There
yo.
was I.
Absolutamente.
Absolutely.
Y pasó esto.
And this happened.
Dice, cuando colocaba
It
los
says,
cielos,
when he
allí
placed the
estaba yo.
heavens, there was
¿Dónde
I.
los colocaba?
Where was he placing
Cuando
them?
trazaba la bóveda,
When
estos son
he
los
was
cielos
making
sobre
the
la
circle, these are the
superficie del
heavens upon the
océano.
surface of the ocean.
Cuando afirmaba los
And
cielos
when
arriba,
he affirmed the
Entonces,
heavens
una vez que
above,
lo
so it says
puso,
once he
empezó a
placed it, he started
afirmar
to
esto.
affirm
¿Qué es
this. What does it
afirmar?
mean to affirm?
empezó a colocarle
Start to
estrellas
place stars,
afirmadas,
to affirm them,
estáticas,
static ones.
estrellas que no cambian la
Stars that
relación
don't
unas con
relation
otras.
one with
No
the
hay
other.
nada
There's
girando,
nothing
dando vuelta,
spinning
estamos, pero
around, and that we are
al random absoluto,
in
o sea que
absolute randomness.
estamos
No.
a la
So
buena
we-
de Dios, por así
just in
decirlo,
God's good
girando
grace,
con la explosión de un Big
just
Bang.
because
No,
of Big Bang.
Cada
No,
estrella
no,
que
no.
tú
Every
ves
star that you see,
es algo que está
it's something that is
pintado,
painted
existe
on or it's something digital.
Las únicas que están
The
a la
only
deriva son los
ones
planetas,
are
amigos.
what's called the
No
planets
estamos a la deriva
that
navegando.
are
Hay
wandering, the
ciertas
wandering
cosas que están
stars. There are
sueltas,
certain things that are
que son lo que
loose.
los científicos
The
llaman
scientists
planetas,
call
porque
planets
orbitan.
because
Esos
they
son los
are the
planetas
wandering
conocidos como
stars,
Marte,
like
Venus,
Mars,
Saturno.
Venus, Saturn.
Esos se nota
You
claramente
clearly
que se
see
mueven
that they move
individual.
individually.
La Luna,
The moon,
la Tierra no, porque
not
la
the Earth,
Tierra
because the
no
Earth
es un planeta.
is not
La
a
Tierra
planet.
es justamente
The Earth is
la
precisely
base
the
de
base
todo.
of everything.
Las otras estrellas
The other stars
están
are
pintadas
painted
o
on
están,
or
colocadas
placed
en forma
in a
físicamente
physical
que no pueden
way
cambiar
that
la
they cannot
relación
change
unas
the
con otras.
relation one with the other.
Pasan los siglos y no
And the
cambian. Si todo
centuries
estuviera
pass
girando
and it
como
doesn't
dicen
change.
los
If everything was
científicos,
spinning
no
like the
tendríamos
scientists
un
say,
cielo
we would not have
igual,
heaven equal
porque está todo girando
because it's all
cada
spinning,
cual para donde
everyone
quiere.
wherever they want.
Ellos te dicen,
They
algunas
say some
constelaciones giran así,
constellations
otras
spin
giran
this
así,
way, others
otras
this
giran
way,
así,
others
otras
this
en
way.
tirabuzones, pero pasan los miles
But
de años
thousands
y
of
está
years
todo
happen and they're all
exactamente
exactly the
igual.
same thing as before.
Y los navegantes dicen, la estrella del norte está ahí, y
And
no
the
se ha movido
travelers
un
say the
milímetro, la estrella del norte
North
está
Star
ahí.
is still
Y
there. It
está
has
la
never
misma
moved
relación con la estrella,
1
la otra
millimeter,
estrella y
and
la otra
also
estrella,
with that other star, the
las
other star,
osas,
the Big
menores y
Dipper and
mayores, y
Little
la puta
Dipper
que
and the
parió,
fucking bitch
todo
that
está
pour them, it's all the
igual.
same.
Nada cambia
Nothing
en forma. Las
changes.
constelaciones
The
no se van
constellations
deformando. Dice, antes
are
parecía
not being deformed, and it used to
osa
look
mayor y
like the Big
ahora,
Dipper now.
ahora ya parece
Now it
un
looks
dragón
like
mayor.
a
No, sigue
big
pareciendo una
dragon.
osa
No, it's still a
mayor.
Big Dipper.
Porque no cambian.
Because they
Quiero
don't
que
change. I
entiendan,
want you to
si
understand.
todo en
If
movimiento,
everything was in
los
movement,
cielos serían
the heavens
diferentes.
would be
Y
different.
si te dice,
And if
no,
they
no,
say, no, no,
el
no, but
tiempo,
give
¿qué
it
le
time.
damos 1000
What,
años?
1,000 years?
En 1000 años nos
In a
giró un
1,000
poquito diferente.
years,
No, nos
it
giró.
hasn't
Le
spent a
damos
little
2000
different.
años.
Okay,
No,
2,000
nos
years.
giró.
No,
Le damos 3000 años.
3,000 years.
No, está
No,
igual.
it's the same.
Porque lo que pintaron
Because those who
los
painted,
antiguos egipcios
the
y otros
Egyptians
son
and all
las
the rest
mismas
are the same
constelaciones que tenemos ahora.
constellations that we have
¿Cómo
now.
puta
How the
madre no
fuck
cambiaron?
have they
Y
not
no
changed? And they have
cambiaron.
not changed.
Entonces,
So then
NASA y
NASA
cada
and
científico,
every
váyanse a la
scientist,
concha
go
de
fuck
su
off to
madre.
your
Hijos
mother's
de
cunt,
la
you
puta.
sons of a bitch.
Engañadores
Deceivers,
de
you
mierda.
dog shit
¿Qué
deceivers.
pasa?
What happens?
Dios afirmó
God
todas las
affirmed all the
estrellas
stars
acá,
here
en la bóveda.
in
Las
the
afirmó.
dome. Affirmed them.
Sigo leyendo.
I'll read
Cuando
on.
firmaba los cielos arriba, cuando
When he established the
afirmaba
heavens
las fuentes
above
del abismo,
and the
cuando
fountains of
ponía
the
en marzo
depth,
estatuto para
and
que las
when
aguas no
he
traspasasen
placed
su
a decree for the
mandamiento,
sea that the
cuando
waters should not
establecía
pass
los
their
fundamentos
commandment,
de
when
la
he appointed the
tierra,
foundations of the
con
earth,
él estaba yo
then
ordenándolo
I
todo.
was
Claro, yo
by
estaba
him,
con él.
and of course I was with him in his mind.
Estaba con él
I
ordenándolo
was
todo.
with him setting everything in
Era su
order, and I was
delicia
his
de día a
delight
día,
day by
teniendo
day,
solaz
and
delante de él
rejoicing
en
always
todo
before him.
tiempo. En la Jerusalén
The
me gusta
Jerusalem,
como
I like the
dice,
way it says it.
yo estaba junto a él
I was
como
next to him
aprendiz.
as an apprentice.
Yo era su
I
alegría
was his
cotidiana, jugando
daily
todo
joy,
el tiempo en
playing
su
always in his
presencia.
presence.
Exactamente.
Exactly.
Nosotros no
We do
entendemos
not understand what I'm going to say now. It's crazier than anything else. There can be a conscience in the future that we have a memory of all who get to be a part of the Messiah, of a reminder of how God created the earth. Because if He conceived us before making anything, and it's written as I was with Him, and we don't remember now, it doesn't mean that in the future we won't remember all of a sudden we have the memory of when God created the earth. Even if we didn't exist as a person, we existed in His mind, and maybe He kept those memories and He will reactivate them or give them back to us in the moment in which we go up into the throne. In one way or another, we were in His energy. There it is. And He blew life. Of course. So it's the same thing as when we made our house. Angelina and Brian were with us. Yes, but they were in us. But I'm going way past that. I'm going that there are memories that are going to be awakened. But we were in His energy, yes. Yes, of course. In one way or another, we were there. We were conceived there. Just like Levi was in Abraham's loins. Yes, exactly. And it could be that He keeps our memory for us so that we can enjoy it later. That's the way it is. That's what it says. And there was I with Him as an apprentice. Why as an apprentice? Well, because we're going to have to create and recreate this world. This world is small. We have to recreate it. I was with Him, next to Him as an apprentice. I was His daily joy. Of course, we're the motor of the creation. Playing always in His presence, rejoicing in the habitable part of the earth. Why does the wisdom has its joy, its pleasure in men? Because precisely that was the idea, that wisdom to be the Messiah, the Savior of men, not of the world, not of the planet. Now Babylon says, let's save the planet, something that does not exist, because we're not a planet, and we don't need, the planet doesn't need salvation. In other words, with a whole bunch of mistakes. A video that Miguel Angel, I think it's from Carlin, he already died already. But Miguel Angel, you shared a video that really made me laugh my ass off, that we're contaminating the world with plastic. It's in English. I can't remember if it was translated. I heard it in English. It really made me laugh my ass off. Now that they're making us believe that we're ruining the planet like a fucking, with a little bottles and plastics that we, it says the earth has always known how to take care of itself. When we bother it enough, they'll just get rid of us. We can't do anything to the earth. The earth knows how to take care of itself, and it perfectly well knows how to recycle itself. And aside from the fact what we're giving the earth is not any more than a product of itself. And maybe the earth wants it, make more plastic, because I want more plastic. I mean, it's comical what they say. Of course, they say stupid things, that they have 10,000 years. I mean, stupid things. But understand the concept thereof. They're saying, how are we going to be hurting this planet if the planet is a lot bigger than us? Well, we're not the saviors of the planet. That's why the text says. Publish it again, Miguel Angel, in case somebody didn't see it. And if they understand English, can't remember. Yeah, anyone. Plays the translation. I mean, it made me laugh my ass off, tell the truth. Because what does Babylon says? We have to save the planet. The climate is changing, all the barbarities that they say. It isn't so. It says, I'll read again. It says, I rejoice in the habitable part of the earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. His pleasure and delight is with the sons of men. It's not because of the earth in itself. Now, he has to have the capacity of his father to make this a lot bigger. And he will do it. Big enough, and even bigger, so that we never have the need or sensation that we are way too many, like the sensation that we may have now, because the whole entire planet, and it's not a planet, the whole earth is like sold. I know that there's empty places, but it has an owner. You can't just take a place. And this place that doesn't have an owner, because it's a desert that nobody could survive in, because there's no water, no one around it, and we're all animals. Well, we're not animals. I'll take that away. We're social beings. We're social beings. And we cannot live alone. All who live alone, isolated from society, study them. They have studied them well. They have a rashe. Because if we stop socializing, we start to have psychological problems. We were designed and created to live in societies. We could live a little further apart, but not like animals or cavemen separated, because it's not good for us. What's good for our brain, and we grow when we socialize. So then the Messiah, as the new king, as the new God, he has to make this grow enough so that there's always territory. So that there's always territory. That is what he will do. That's why he was like an apprentice. That is why his delight is in the habitable part of the earth, which is going to make it all habitable, a lot more, and almost all habitable. My delights, the Messiah, or the new God, or wisdom says, my delight is with the sons of men, and nothing else. It is by and for the sons of men. It is not by and for the earth. And the animals aside, because the Messiah loves the animals and places them in the place of beings that are savable. What I'm referring to the earth is what the earth is, what is considered as the physical place. The Messiah not only is it not worried over that, he'll make it a lot more beautiful, a lot more bigger, a lot more habitable, and completely different than to what we see now. But his delight is to be with whom? With the sons of man. Now therefore, children, hearken unto me, and blessed are they that keep my ways. Now, he no longer says his credentials, because these are his credentials of presentation. I am wisdom. I have authority because God conceived me before even the earth, before the depths, before the mountains, before the earth. I was there already, I already existed when he placed the rigid heavens upon the ocean. I was there. When he made the earth come up out of the water, I was there. I was there. And my delight is in the habitable part. And I don't like saying the ice poles, the desert, that's no good. No. I'm going to take all those deserts out and those uninhabitable poles unless they have some sort of function for some animals. But the rest, I'll make it habitable for the eyes of men. Because my delight is only the sons of men. And my delight is precisely against sending them to hell. My delight is against sending them to a heaven. No, my delight is that they all live, that they have life, and life in abundance. That is my delight. When he finishes presenting his credentials as who he is, he says, now then, children, hear me. And blessed are they that keep my ways, the ways of wisdom. Hearken unto advice, and be wise, and refuse it not. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the posts of my doors, This, if you were to read it, you can find it almost a modern meaning to the social laws. I mean, the social media. Yeah, the social media is what I mean. Because it says, blessed is the man that heareth me. Actually, why? Where do you hear me through? The social media. Watching daily at my gates. Do you watch at the gates of my house? No, of my social media. Waiting at the posts of my doors. All the posts, the invitations, the videos, those are the posts. If you read the text well, it would seem that it's talking about a technology that didn't exist before. Because how can you be daily at my gates, at the posts of my doors? In a coded message, it's saying wisdom will speak to you through all the social media that exists. Blessed are they that pay attention to that. Because it's available for everyone, but it's only a few that want to listen for now. For whoso findeth me, findeth life. Impressive. He that findeth me in the social media will find life. Those who found me, they found me through social media. Ever since I started to speak here, I started to speak on YouTube. Social media. So then, how am I going to be against the social media? They're the greatest thing that ever happened to us in the modern era. And he that findeth me on the social media, any means, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, whatever place where they have a video of the eternal truth, shall they find life, and shall obtain the favor of Yahweh. What favor of Yahweh? The favor of Yahweh is the inheritance. It is the inheritance. That is the favor of Yahweh. It's not that Yahweh will do you a favor. No. You will get the inheritance of Yahweh. It's all written, you know, concealed entirely. No one understands a thing. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. Notice, that doesn't even say I get upset. No, the wisdom does not get upset. He that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul, not my soul. The soul of the persons that sin, that hate me. All who hate me, they love death. Exactly, that is the difference between the wisdom. Doesn't worry about it at all. Doesn't even take vengeance of anything, nor will he ever take vengeance. But if you hate her, actually, what you love is death. And those who are deceiving themselves is yourself. Look at it says in 2001, Jerusalem 2001. And we're in the last chapter, in the last verse of the chapter. We're finishing up Jerusalem 2001. But he that offendeth me hurts himself. Not because to offend wisdom, wisdom takes vengeance and you end up wrong because wisdom will persecute you and punish you. No. Listen well. But he that offendeth me hurteth himself, and they that hate me love death. There's no turn of the page. They do harm on themselves. Look at it says in the Spanish, YHWH 2002. Proverbs 8:36, last text of Germanic medicine. They're doing it to themselves, exactly. If you hate me, the hurt is unto you. The hurt is unto you. In the Proverbs 8:36, Spanish YHWH, it says, but to go away from me is to put your life in danger. If I elaborate a bit, to hate me is to love death. That is very clear and well translated. To hate wisdom is to love death. So then, all those who hate the eternal truth, all those who hate the Messiah, when the Messiah arises, the Messiah will not take any retribution against them unless they want to destroy it with weapons, like I've already told you in the whole panorama. Taking that out, the people that are not of the army of Babylon, the people that say, we do not accept you as a Messiah or anything, we are waiting for Jesus. What is the Messiah, the real Messiah, going to do? He's going to say, oh, continue to wait for Jesus. When you see that he is not showing up, or when you want to change the idea, here we are. But you continue to wait for Jesus. As long as you wait for your Jesus, you're not going to receive life because you hate me. And if you hate me, I can't give you life. If you can't accept me, I cannot give you life because you love death. So then in the measure that you see that they're going to die, if you look for me, you'll find life. And if you die, I'm going to have to resurrect you. And that's it. It's where your fight against me ends. Because you'll see that Jesus did not come and didn't resurrect you. But I resurrected you. So then, you want to live until you die? Do that. If you repent before, come to the kingdom of the Messiah. If you don't want to come, then you love death and will die. But the Messiah that does not hate you will go and look for you because he has the key of death. But if it's the only way, let it be that way. There's no rule that says, no, you have to accept me under penalty of death. No. You don't accept me, then die for not accepting me. Not because the Messiah will kill them, die because you're still under the curse of your old God creator. And to take that curse out, you have to understand who was your God that you worshiped. You will not receive life worshiping the God creator. Let that be clear. No one will receive life, nor the disciples, nor the prophets. No one that is here in this Bible, named with name, no one will receive life by continuing to worship the God, Yahweh, that they've worshipped. They're going to have to understand the new God of the earth, which is very different to what they talked about here. Moses hasn't the least idea that when he sees the whole history, because we're going to tell it to him, he's going to accept it or not. It's very easy for him to accept it because he's going to notice Moses is going to give testimony that God killed him. Like in Moses' case, it's very easy because here's this: he went out 120 years old and he died. Nothing hurt. Nothing was failing in his body, but it says he went up a mountain. His eyesight wasn't failing, and says, "You see all this that I'm going to show you that I thought about you. You saw it, Moses? I'm not going to give it to you. Why? Because you're going to die today." So then he died that day. How did he die? God killed him. So then we need Moses to say, "I was fine," and all of a sudden I noticed that he killed me. And then he's going to say, "God killed me." What I'm saying, will be confirmed by Moses. Moses will be easy to understand this. But all the rest of the prophets, they have to understand it in the same way. Remember what I'm telling you. Moses is going to say, you're the only person that noticed that God killed me. Yeah, all your idiot Jewish brethren, they thought that you died of old age. But it says here that I went up like a hair. I thought that I was going to live till 270. That son of a bitch says, you know what he told me? Abraham, all this that I was going to give you, I'm not going to give it to you. And I got so upset. Imagine if it was a dialogue like this. Moses, you son of a bitch, you struck the rock. I told you not to strike it. And even if you didn't strike it, I wasn't going to let you enter either way because I don't want you to enter. So then Moses says, don't be that way. Come on, 40 years old in the desert. Look, here, we killed almost everyone. And actually, I didn't want for anyone to enter. Just those that are under 18 or from 18 above. And Moses must have said, you cannot be such a son of a bitch. Yeah, I'm that and even more, he says. But you will not come out of here alive. He says, but I feel great. I'll kill you today. You're staying here. And he got a heart attack. I can assure you that you will see it with your eyes. You're going to say, how did you know that, Christian? Well, because I was formed before the depths, before Moses. Before Moses, I existed. That's why I know it. Suck on that. But to draw away from me is to endanger your own life. It is to hate me, is to love death. The Christians have a base. This is the last thing I'll read for today. They have a base to say, no, 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 no. You're not wisdom. And personified. First of all, you're not wise. And also, second of all, you are not the Messiah. Wisdom is Christ Jesus because Paul says so. Paul says it? Yes, he does. Let's read 1 Corinthians 1, and I'll read from 18 and on, because I'm interested in everything that it says. Why do the Christians think that it talks about Jesus, their Savior? 1 Corinthians 1:18 through 31 says, for the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness. Exactly. Paul says, all who are lost, they are lost because they see the cross as foolishness, and it is foolishness. But the cross does not save anyone. But unto them that are saved, which is unto us, it is power of God. There you have it. The cross is power of God. Remember that wisdom said that wisdom is power. So then here it begins the relation between power and wisdom, which is Christ. The cross of Christ is power of God unto them that are saved, Paul says, for it is written, I will destroy the wisdom, and here it mentions it, starts to mention wisdom. I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? These texts are incredible if you want to understand them different to what you've understood them your whole life. What does God say? I shall destroy the wisdom of the wise. That's why there hasn't been so many wise, because it was made it his mission to destroy the truth or the wisdom of the wise. And then he says, where is the wise? Right. If he destroys with the wisdom, where's the wise? Where is the disputer of this world? Who made the wisdom of this world made foolish? God did. The world is crazy. If the world is a universe, it is only one lie. Who made that? God did. If the NASA is crazy, it is because God made it foolish. It's all the work of God. Why? To twist everything. Everything that could be twisted was going to be twisted to the benefit of the Messiah, so that the Messiah can't make everything right. For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. Since God made wisdom foolishness, now what would seem to be crazy is the salvation. Of course, the cross is a foolishness, but an actual foolishness, like an actual insanity. That's why Paul says it's all twisted. God made the whole world crazy. Now, of course, they look at the cross, these crazies. He says, yeah, that's crazy. And they don't know that that is the truth. And no, it's not the truth. That he made everything crazy, it's true. And the cross is part of the craziness, of the insanity. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. But we preach Christ crucified. And to the Jews, a stumbling block. The Jews stumble upon Christ that's crucified, and unto the Gentiles foolishness. Of course, the Gentiles that look for wisdom. The crucified Christ is insanity for the Jews also. They stumble upon the crucified Christ. But for them that are called, the so-called Jews, he says, we are the called. Paul says in his little group, yet for unto them that are called Jews, Jews and Greeks, here's the definition of wisdom: Christ, power of God, and wisdom of God. Here comes the definition by excellence of the Christians of who is wisdom. Paul says Christ, the power of God, and wisdom of God. So then when I read in chapter 8 of Proverbs that it says, I am wisdom, I am power, I am the truth, I am the way, I am justice, the Christians say, of course, Christ is the power of God, and Christ is wisdom of God. So then who is that I am the power, I am the wisdom, I am the justice? It is Christ. Christ, the power of God, Christ, the wisdom of God. Because the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. All this is a lie. This is a lie, and Christianity has used it for such a long time. The foolishness of God is referring to the preaching of Paul. Christianity, the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and it isn't so. And the weakness of God is stronger than men. The weakness of God, it's also referring to Christianity, because it's not that God is weak. That weakness is the preaching. It's always talking about Christ crucified, which is wiser than men and stronger to save. For look, brethren, how you're calling that ye are not many wise men after the flesh. In other words, according to the people, they're not going to consider you wise. Not many mighty, not many noble. You have power, novelty, or wisdom according to the people, according to the Greeks and according to the Jews. But the foolishness of God did God choose to confound the wise. And who are the wise? The Jews and the Greeks. What he just mentioned, right? And the weak of the world did God choose to confound the mighty. You see, I'm explaining what I explained to you before. When it says precisely the weakness of God is stronger, it's all a lie. It's all a lie. Absolutely a lie. This weakness, which is Christianity, is not the strongest thing in the world. No, absolutely not. This is a psychological manipulation that I've always felt, that I've heard from many people saying, that's why I don't have any studies, because God chose me. I am trash. God chose the worst in the world to benefit the wise. How many times did I hear that? It said, but the foolishness of the world did God find, and the weakness of the world did God find for to confound the mighty, and the vile of the world did God choose, and what is not, to undo what is, that no flesh should glory in his presence. So then it says, God chose the worst of the worst, which are us, all the Christians, Paul says, so that no one should glory in his presence, saying it's all been our work. No, we're the worst of the worst. In the eyes of men, we're the most foolish, the weakest, the most foolish, the most vile. It says very harsh things. Vile is to be evil, not to be poor, just to be evil. And it says, and that which is not, to undo that which is. I don't like this philosophy of Paul at all. It is despicable. Despicable as you hear it. Because wisdom is not the most vile thing. If you compare what we talked about, Proverbs 8 about wisdom, it has nothing that's vile. And out of this display, how do you say, of humility? Wisdom doesn't do that. Wisdom says, you don't love me? You love death. Because my words are worth gold. In fact, my words are worth more than gold. More than anything that the world can desire. So then it's all the contrary to what Paul says. Wisdom does not despise itself. It's not what's the most vile of the world. It's not what is not to destroy what is. Why do I read this? Because the Christians apply that we, all the Christians, not us, I'm speaking as if I were Christian, are the most vile of the world. But Christ Jesus is the power of God, the wisdom of God. And all of us that seem to be crazy now because we follow that cross, we're going to be the greatest in the world. We're not humble the wise. You're wrong. The wise are the wise, and the real wise are going to be the new God of the earth. But of him are ye in Christ Jesus, who of God is made unto us wisdom. Here is once again the definition. Christ Jesus has been made unto us by God wisdom, righteousness, sanctification, and redemption. Even if we're trash, the most vile, thanks to the act of the Father God that through his Son Christ Jesus, that through us he made him wisdom, righteousness, sanctification, and redemption, that according to, as it is written, he that glorieth, let him glory in the Lord. Let no one have their own glory. Paul says, we, the Christians, Paul says, we are humble people that do not glorify. Well, wisdom glorifies all the time that we're worth more than gold. I have power. I have control. Sanctified be my name. A Christian can never say that. Only wisdom can say that. That's why I read this part. And I'm also going to read another part. Colossians 1:15 through 23. Colossians 1:15 through 23. Talking about Christ, and it says, he is the image of the invisible God. Christ is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. He's the firstborn of all of creation. He is quoting directly Proverbs. That's why I'm reading this of Paul. So then the Christians read this, and it says the firstborn. Eternally I had the first primogeniture. I was conceived before creation. So then, it says, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones, dominions, principalities, or powers. All things were created by him and for him. All this is Proverbs 8, written a little bit different through Paul. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, which is the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. For it pleased the Father that in him should be all fullness dwell, and through him to made peace through him to reconcile all things unto himself, those that are in earth as in heaven, making peace through the blood of his cross. And unto you, that were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, Yet now hath he reconciled in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight. If ye continue in the faith grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister. Well, Paul, you were made a minister to preach a message which is a lie, which is Christianity. But everything that it says here is applied to the true Messiah. He applies it to the Christ crucified. The Christians following this apply it to the Christ Jesus, but actually I'm going to read this to you, taking out the good part, because it explains that are Proverbs, because it is applied to the true Messiah. It's not the Messiah crucified, because the Messiah crucified was not a Messiah. It was Yahweh crucified, who was playing the role of a Messiah. The Messiah had not come in that time. The Messiah was to come in the 6th millennium. And the Messiah was not going to be crucified. The Messiah was not designed to be crucified. He was designed to reign, and to reign with glory, eternally, with the government upon his shoulders. So then what Paul is saying here is applied directly in a prophetic way to what we read in Proverbs 8. He is the image of the invisible God. Can we rescue anything here? Yes, the image of the invisible God unto all of humanity will always be the new God of the earth, the Messiah. It'll be the image of God. The firstborn of all creation, correctly, is the first Son of God, the first conceived in his mind, because the rest that he made afterwards are also his children, but they were made for his Son. The Son is the firstborn. It is the Messiah. For in him were all things created, exactly in him and by him, like in Proverbs chapter 8, it says, before the depths was high, had been conceived. For in him were created all things which are in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether they're thrones, dominions, powers. It was all created by him and for him. By him means that Yahweh, by creating us, by conceiving, before doing all his works, he did it all by our means and for us. Not that we made it, but that he did it for us. And I'm sure that there's a memory that we're going to remember. But notice well that everything that Paul mentions is true. All the things that are in heaven, visible and invisible. Thrones. Why did those kings reign? So that they don't ever reign again. Why are those dominions there? So that they no longer have dominion. These governments, so that they are no longer governments. These powers, so that they no longer have power. It was all created by him and for him, and exactly, it was created so that the Messiah can take the power away from all that. And he is before all things. The Messiah, the true Messiah, is before all things. And all things subside in him. Up until today, they exist because of the Messiah, or else, because if it weren't for him, they would not exist. It was all created for the Messiah. So then the reason of everything is precisely so that the Messiah has a kingdom. If there had not been, in the mind of the Creator, a desire to be the Messiah and conceive him, the rest of this whole history would not exist. So then everything subsides because the Messiah exists before all things. And not just that. When the Messiah is elevated to God, then everything will subside for him, of course, because he has life. That is clear in every aspect. That's why I love what Paul wrote, but you have to understand that not even what he tried to say, the Christ crucified, he had not in his mind what I'm explaining. But actually, the way he is explaining Proverbs 8, actually I applied this for the Messiah. It says, and he is the head of the body, which is the church, in this case the world. And of course, the Messiah is the head of everything, which is the beginning, the firstborn from among the dead, of course. So then in everything he has preeminence. The Messiah will have preeminence in everything. For it pleased the Father Creator, that in him should all fullness dwell. All fullness dwell. All fullness of what? This, what Paul says, is an inspiration of God. It is recovered, concealed, mixed with lies, of course, because the Bible is covered with lies. But when the Messiah reads this, what we're doing, all of us are doing right now, we understand where the proof is that God will give unto the Son of Man all fullness, and fullness of divinity is what we're talking about. That's why he becomes a mighty God. It's not a simple human Messiah that comes to rule with good ideas and justice. No. It doesn't. It wouldn't work. He has attributes and divine power, all fullness, the fullness that God Creator has. He gives it to His Son, so that His Son can make of this creation and reform it as He wishes. That's why it says, for it pleased the Father, the Creator, that in him should all fullness dwell, that in the Messiah should all fullness dwell, of divinity, mind you, and having made peace through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things. Everything that he twisted, he'll make right. Those who are on earth as in heaven, making peace through the blood of his cross. The blood of his cross, that part Yahweh did. That part Yahweh did. And you that were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind, of course, all those who don't understand what the Messiah is, they are enemies and alienated by wicked works, yet now he hath reconciled. The Messiah will reconcile the whole world, whatever the time it may take. Time is what he has in his existence. It reminded me of the song of the Rolling Stones. The time is on my side. That's what he says. The time is on my side. Time. I think that song, it's not called Time. What is the name of the song? The Dance with the Devil? Not Dance with the Devil. That's the name of the song? Right there? Okay. The Rolling Stones song, Time is on my side. The Messiah says, the time is on my side. I have all the time of God, not of the world, of God. So then you'll understand it, because you're going to understand it. Not because I'll force you, but you'll understand it, boys. The time is on my side. Time is on my side. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, I know I don't sing that well. I'm going to have to learn to sing very well. That is what it reminded me of. My mind just goes straight to the songs. So then, what am I reading? Okay, reading on. It says that in other times you were alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now he hath reconciled in the body of his flesh through death, the death of Yahweh, to present you holy and unblemished and unreprovable in his sight. I mean, nothing to do with the fact so that they live in the kingdom of the Messiah. And if ye continue in the faith, grounded and settled right there, he starts that. And if you do this, and if you're obedient, or else you can all fuck off, is what he's trying to say. And be not moved away from the hope of the gospel which ye have heard, and blah, 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 which I, Paul, was a minister. Paul, you're going to have to understand the truth. And you are going to have to accept the new God, little Paul, to laugh at you in your writings. And that calls on, hey, Paul, you're pretty much of a liar. In fact, we made a whole subject called Paul the Apostle, Lying Apostle. Paul's going to say, know what? Yeah, us, the Messiah. We made a series called Paul the Lying Apostle, because you're super a liar. And we told you to fuck off. The Apostle of Azazel, to fuck off. But then later we noticed that Azazel was also God. But not because of that. But then later we found out. But then we started to accept you again. Because God used everyone as minion. You were one of his minions, little Paul. So then little Paul, that is the story. That Christ you preached, Christ crucified, was Yahweh. You got confused. A son of Yahweh doesn't come. You should have known it, because you are and were a rabbi. and you said that you were a rabbi of rabbis, not just any rabbi, that you were the cream of the crop, the creme of la creme, and that you studied at the feet of some of the great rabbi. Ramaliel, I don't even know who the fuck Ramaliel was, doesn't matter. No, I can already see he was lying. You lied. It was because everything, it's as if I had learned at the feet of Maradona and then Messi trained me. We can all say stupid shit, Paul. I can see you were such a liar and I accept it. Because you are the lying apostle. Maybe you even know Ramaliel, but who knows? Knowing you try to make yourself better than your. Maybe you seem like an Argentinian from nowadays. Now, Paul, what you said was a lie. The Messiah are we are many, and you have no salvation on the cross. Do you understand that, Paul? Paul's going to say, no. Okay, Paul. Then continue to live your life. We'll resurrect you until you die, and we'll resurrect you again until the day that Paul says, oh, that's true. The cross was not the salvation. That's why I died. That's why everyone died. That's why all the followers died. There's no life in the cross. Okay, good, Paul. Now we advanced. There's no life in the cross. Where's the life? In you. What else? What else? What does this text say, Isaiah? You are our God. Unto thee we awaited. You have life. Paul's going to say it. Jacob will say it. John will say it. Peter will say it. They're all going to say it. Judas will say it. Judas. I suspected from the very beginning. That's why I wanted to eliminate it. Judas is going to say it. And I didn't do it on purpose. I understand you, Judas. When you decided not to sell him, something entered in you that was stronger than you yourself. That's true. That's true. That is what we call now. What do you call this? Like a possession. A possession. Satan possessed. Yes, well, that Satan was the one that is saying, one of you will betray me. They can understand that. I mean, like that. They're all going to notice that there were lying minions that worked for Yahweh. So then, what is wisdom? For the Jews, it is the Torah. Wisdom is the Torah. And it's nothing else other than the Torah. For the Christians, it is Christ Jesus. For those who understand, in other words, for us, it is the Messiah. And the Messiah are we, the eternal truth. Proverbs 9:1. Wisdom built her home. She made her 7 columns. That we shall study next Shabbat. Wisdom built her home and her honed out her 7 pillars. What are the 7 pillars of the house of the wisdom? I think I've said too much. We'll study that next Shabbat. Psalm 78, 1 through 2. O my people, hear my teachings. Open your ears unto what I say. For I shall speak unto thee by means of a parable. I shall teach you lessons hidden of our past. A flower is born. Every day the sun comes out. Every now and then you hear that voice, as of a delicious bread, delicious to sing in the balconies of the mind along with the cicadas. But in turn, a transformer exists which consumes the best of you, throws you back, demands more and more, and there comes a point in which you no longer want. Suck at the liberty's breast. You will always carry her within the heart. They may corrupt you, you may forget, but she is always there. Yesterday, I had a dream with the hungry, the crazies, those who left, those who are in prison. Today, I awoke singing this song, which has been written time ago, and it is necessary to sing it again one more time. Semper Fi. Before I forget. It goes afterwards, but the destiny, it is written. The end is inevitable. The 7th one, we're going to win it. Because the 7th one is perfection.
es plenitud.
It is fullness
Y la
and
sabiduría
wisdom.
edificó su casa con
Edified
7
her
columnas.
house with 7 pillars, and we're gonna win the 7th one. Not this year.
Veremos el año
We'll
que
see
viene,
next year.
quizá tampoco.
Maybe not that either.
Hay tiempo
There is
todavía,
time
faltan
still. We have
6
6
años
years
para el
left
nuevo
for the new
milenio.
millennium.
No la ganemos
I
en el
hope we
nuevo
don't win it
milenio.
in the new millennium already.
Espero que
I hope
no.
not.
Dios,
God,
el nuevo
the
y
new
verdadero
and
Dios,
true God,
¿cómo es?
how is he?
Es
Is Argentinian. Is Argentinian. Let the laurels be eternal that we knew had to achieve. Crowned with glory, let us live, or we swear, with glory to die. Let's go the eternal truth. Let's go everything that we've been learning here and starting in a small measure to practice in order for this kingdom to be one of justice and not of sacrifice and not of laws and legislations that make us in the same thing in what we live now. Let's go the eternal truth. This week, I have 25 pots that have dragon fruit that I believe that in the part of Latin America, they call them pitayas. It's a spectacular fruit. I have 25 big pots that I planted a year ago, and I put 4 in every one. I have more than 100 dragon fruit plant. I mean, it's crazy. But I had to be watering them every 3 days. Some days I would forget, and sometimes I would be lazy because you have to waste time this whole week. And last week, I did a whole system in order to get irrigated automatically that I didn't have. I had to take water from a different place that I had to put a timer because it has to be every blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you this because the conditions of Yahweh are so terrible. A fruit that's so spectacular, dragon fruit, the fruit of Yahweh, it sounds like dragon fruit or pitaya. I have my whole arm with millions of like pricks. I did wear gloves, but you can't see this in video. But what a fucking bitch the plant I was helping it. But all these little pricks, as if I had an accident, and now it's a little bit better. But I have hundreds of pricks all over the place. I had to cleanse it, cleanse the plants around it, to put all the watering, and it was prickling. Those are the curses of Yahweh. What you have to do, and that is what the Messiah will change. There cannot be any plants that has thorns, that fucking bitch. Because that's a curse that God said the earth will produce thorns and thistles. Now I'm all hurt. I love my plants. They don't want to have thorns, but they have the thorns. They have them. And the Messiah will take them out. Because the Messiah wants justice and wants a kingdom of peace. Let's go the eternal truth. Semper Fi. Let's go Boca. We have descended into the South American Cup, but it was prophetic. Don't get upset. Don't get upset. Boca Ubeda is no longer a coach. It's not official, but I think that he's gone. I told you that he was not a good coach, but well, that's the way it should have been. I personally saw and celebrated the cup of the year 2000 of Boca, the 2001, the Libertadores, the 2000, the 2001, the 2003, and the 2007. And then later, I didn't see anything. I personally have seen all those cups. Those 4 Libertadores Cup. Leslie and I. By moments, we even had to pay. We would go to restaurants where everything was filled with Mexicans, and we were dressed as Boca with the Argentinian jersey, and they always looked at us because they were all against us. And watching the Boca games, because we followed Boca wherever, because there was no signal, there was no internet. We're talking about 2000. There was no internet. And we're talking about the ones that we lost also, not just those. All these years we went with Leslie to watch the Cups. We would go to restaurants. These environments was there. You should not one of them. Some Argentinian that would show up and then maybe would get together. Otherwise, it'd be like, I don't know. It was always like that. And that's how we made Mexican friends. We never had a problem. We made friends like that. That is how we made the Roche. We made all those. We made friends with Mormons that were great. All those, the whole family, great. The Mormon family was, and we also, I mean, people, the Mexican people was always excellent with us. I'm telling you that the environment was heavy. The environment was heavy. Sometimes we heard insults, but we wouldn't even listen to them. But it was a heavy environment because we would say, "Let's go Boca," and everyone was either you were with Boca or is everyone against Boca. You already know how it is. Everyone against Boca, and everybody wanted. I had to see Argentina against Cruz Azul, and we lost against Cruz Azul. Wow, to see them lose with Cruz Azul. I mean, imagine it was like 200, 300 from Cruz Azul and one from Boca. I mean, it's dangerous. Two of Boca, it's dangerous. Okay, no, we don't need that. We can watch it online. We have all the places to watch them. I enjoyed what Boca is now. Now we have to wait. We have to wait. Boca will win the 7th one. We have to wait. And the best of this whole story is that in 2018, I wasn't watching soccer. So then the final with Boca and River, the famous final in Madrid that River won, I didn't even watch it. I didn't suffer. They say Boca died in Madrid. No, it didn't die in Boca. They lost the final in Madrid. The one who died were you, River. You dog shit. River went to the B class, and you were the first jersey that called Resurrection. So the one that died was River. Don't ever say, you fucking faggot chicken, that Boca died in Madrid. Boca did not die in Madrid. Boca lost a final in Madrid with you. In a final, to get to the final, it's perfect. Didn't die at all. I didn't even find out, tell the truth. I didn't live it. I didn't suffer it. Even if I had suffered it. Boca, you don't die for a final. No, if you go out of the category, then you die. And the one that dies, then when he ascends, because to ascend is to ascend, the one that ascends was not Boca, the one that made a jersey that says Resurrection. Look it up. Those of River had a jersey called Resurrection, and the Resurrection, you can only have it if you were dead. So then the one that died was River. You dog shit chicken. You're the one that died. And you resurrected. Boca never died in Madrid. Boca gave you a final in Madrid, which the CONMEBOL gave it to you. I mean, don't even mention it. Taking that out. A final that should never have been played in Madrid. A final that we should have won because you broke. We played that in your field and you broke our microphone and you broke players and we were not able to play it, and that final should have been suspended and said Boca's the champion. That's it, it's over, and that's it, it's over. If we went to play it and you broke our players with throwing rocks and things like that, and we went to Madrid because of the fault of our president, but Boca did not die in Madrid. The only ones that died were the chickens. And they put a jersey that says Resurrection. Let's go, Boca. Let's go, the Eternal Truth. We shall meet again next Shabbat. And now we'll go eat gnocchis. Give us a like and leave a comment. And thank you for the donations. Don't forget that we are in conjunction surviving until God gives us what He promises. Hallelujah to every one of you.